That is the odds stat line for this specific map, being Fate's pick. Obviously, they have to start on this T side as well, so it doesn't get much easier from here. Of course, early in this pistol round, it's going to be 4 lots of Kevlar for Fate. Just Nikki picking up that utility here, and no shots connecting. Dexter finally nailing that first. There's the initial man going down. There's no coverage towards this B bomb site for the rest of Fate as they want to send things sailing into Ivy. We saw this exact stratagem from them get actually closed down last night by Crazy's CT side on Train. This time it's Blocker to chip and chime through. It's that P250 to open up, a very powerful pistol in these first rounds. Of course, longer headshot range. You can definitely nail some between the eye shots. Well, there is the first. 4 versus 4.
Close to this smoke. He's going to get the sight line, but he gets taken out by Ma. It's Sotfik firing off a shot, and it's him and Dexter that... I'm not sure what they go for here. They're actually going to wrap around. There's no point in saving here. They just have the Kevlar.
They could make a sandwich up in this kitchen. Wait. You could make some cold toast if you're a consistent viewer.
Oh, yeah. I could have gone and tried that in the break. I didn't, just so you know. I got some Cookie Crisp instead, my favorite cereal.
Not a good choice. Blocker doing a hell of a lot of damage in this pistol. P250 certainly getting the job done. Good enough for 4 headshots there. And ESPADA caution back on this CT side. I would be expecting Fate to take 5, 6, something along those lines on this terrorist half. Obviously, ESPADA, they're gunning for, I guess, double digits here. They do strike me as quite a counter-terrorist heavy team. Certain past iterations of this team have been much of the same, especially on a map like Train, where you are gunning for those double-digit counter-terrorist halves. And realistically, with the Force buy, this is one that they need to take, otherwise it'll be a quick 3-0 for Fate. Of course, with these SMGs as well to bolster up the cash in the next and the follow-ups. Really wanting to keep these alive for a little bit of time.
Very, very slow round from Fate. Now the execute comes in after they've waited for the aggression from their opponents. It's not been given to them whatsoever. This is going to initiate the push. 2 MAC-10s to charge in and try and find these openers. Patsy's got a nice angle, maybe able to find one. He's able to do exactly that. He finds one of his own as well, and as the AK is picked up, he's able to convert to 3rd. This comes down very, very close now, as Mars able to find one more. But look at this. Patsy kills himself with his own Molotov, in fact. And after all of that bloodshed, it leaves Hahn last alive. He is finally in the server. We weren't sure whether he was going to make an appearance or not. In this 1 versus 3, he's retrieved himself the bomb. Desperate to spot out these players, and it's Finnegan to swing out. Take his head clean off. Fate managed to throw away that second round. I think we saw this earlier as well on Train, didn't we?
Yes, and I feel like this is a pretty firm commonality on this specific map. Of course, that CT side is so favored, even with the Deagles. There's a lot of damage that can possibly be done in these particular rounds. And well, we see it strike again in this second. Really wobbly round for Fate, all things considered. They allowed those opening frags to come through, just not really trading effectively, and it got way too hot to close things out. The heat, if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. There's ESPADA. So that MP9 only trades 1 for 1. I don't think that they'll be too disappointed about that. It's done a lot of damage on Tamar as well. Forced Patrick onto a fairly rocky start. And only getting rid of that MP9 as response. Doesn't feel too bad here, as the follow-up SMG is going to just chime through. Fate definitely caught on the back foot in this third.
They really are. This is not looking too good for them whatsoever. This is another full investment, an opportunity for ESPADA to convert another here. Patsy with this MP5, not a weapon that you see pulled out all too often, especially at this caliber of play. Still the man advantage for ESPADA, and with 40 seconds on the clock, Fate are going to start to make their move over towards A. This MP5 still in sandwich to do some damage. He's not actually able to find either kill, but Dexter's the one to do so. They finish things off. Blocker falls. ESPADA put their second round on the board, and well, they're just looking good right now, especially considering this is Fate's map pick. And obviously it's far too soon to start talking about the overall outcome of this game. But the bottom line is if Fate can't convert Train, they're really going to struggle. They go on to Mirage. It's ESPADA's map pick. It's one of ESPADA's best maps, and it's one of Fate's worst. Besides Nuke, which is their absolute instant permaban, Mirage is actually their weakest map. So ESPADA will feel pretty comfortable, especially if they can take an early lead over here on Train.
I think that's one of the things that makes this veto slightly less interesting, is both of these teams do have permabans. Of course, ESPADA will always be getting rid of Vertigo, right off the bat. And while Train is fairly sturdy turf for them, well, quite clearly, this looks to be a very convincing round here. The MP9 just shines in. They know exactly where Han is to finish. 3-1 on the board. ESPADA, they're chaining together a couple of rounds to start things strong here on Train. And remember, Train isn't necessarily one of ESPADA's best maps. I did see them play it in, I think, the IM Katowice qualifier earlier this year under a slightly different roster. Train seemed to be one of their go-tos in best of ones. I think what's worrying for them is usually this CT side. I look at their last 7 maps played, and they're only averaging 43% of rounds on that CT half. That's really weak and wobbly. When they go to the T side, they're commonly doing a lot better with over 50% taken, whereas when you switch to the Fate side, they've played it 31 times over the last 3 months. That's a hell of a lot, with a heavy 57% win percentage on the CT half and over 50% on the T side as well. So we're definitely looking for them to take this one. They need to shut ESPADA down early in a series like this. Technical pause has actually been plaguing Fate over the last couple of days. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's impacted in any of these series, but 3-1 on the board. It's ESPADA with the control right now. You see that money starting to build up, the AWP in hand for Dexter, and look for him to have massive effect in Avail. 6-1 to start things off, and well, it's a pretty good scoreline to be rocking.
The tech pause is cancelled. It's looking like Nicky's still the only one yet to buy, but he should buy in due time. It's him and Patrick that are yet to put a kill on the board as we go into round number 5. A full investment from Fate now for them to work with, though. AWPs on both sides, rifles all round, and full utility available. They've bombarded loads of grenades onto this A site early on, but it's all a big bamboozle. We're actually headed over towards Ivy. One player heading over to B. Dexter's just spotted an elbow in the nick of time. Han manages to pull away. That is going to allow Sotfik to get right into A main, though, gain loads of control and throw that smoke, which is actually very, very dangerous, especially with Dima over on Ivy. Lands himself one. Actually, here's the second as well, but pulls out the grenade at the wrong time. The Molotov going to land right behind Nicky, not going to affect him whatsoever. And for now, we're level pegging. 50 seconds burnt out on the clock already. And we're in a 4v4.
That timing was certainly unfortunate, and that is not much better. Blocker, quick headshot. Eliminates one more. This is still a fairly even-Steven scenario. Still a 4 versus 3, thinning out that defense, but with Blocker on just 10 points of health, it does become dangerous for the counter-terrorist force. Dexter turns away just at the wrong time. Timing has not been working out for ESPADA in this 5th. They're Let's see if the AWP can connect here. Leg spotted, shot missed. That gives an opening to Fate. They need to actually collapse onto this AWP, and it's not happening. Dexter, he's taking all of these aggressive angles, finally being taken to task as the bomb gets thrown right onto this site. There's a Molotov. It just about whiffs, and Hans there to finish off the pieces. 3-2. Must-win round from Fate, and they're able to take it over the top.
Yeah, it definitely brings them back into this one, allows them the money to buy into round number 6 as well. If they don't convert that, ESPADA might be able to take another there, Fate are back onto an eco, and gives them an opportunity to extend an early gap that they've created by winning that second round, of course. Fate now in close contention. They face up against another buy here from ESPADA. They do have the cash in the bank to fully invest. Very, very limited utility available though, and on the CT side, on a map like Train, that's not what you want to be seeing. They've got a couple of smokes, a couple of Molotovs to work with, 2 flashbangs as well. I'm not sure if that's going to quite be sufficient. It might just be if Fate are going to go for this B push. With 2 players here, they could shut this one down early.
We'll see the flurry of nades coming to be in the next couple of seconds for Fate, and here they come. Quick Molotovs, the first extinguishers right on the ground. Not able to get anything done here. Everybody's blind. Nobody's spotting out Sophic, and Finnegan gets fully flashed as well. They need to take care of him now. Dima finds a lot of damage and knocks it down to just Nikki. What an outstanding defense here for ESPADA. Both low on HP, and this 1 versus 2 is definitely doable to bring the scoreline back to evens once again. Heading back towards this A-bomb site. Just wrapping inside here, right through that Molotov.
No.
Patsy didn't have the HP to pull through that one. Leaves Dima on his lonesome. And coming in from the flank, Nikki has to be very careful about where he treads. There's the swing. Only a little bit of damage found. And there's the response. See what it means to him there. 3-3. Fate, they're firmly back on the board. And this is what makes Train such tricky territory for them. The ability to break open rounds on this T side. Not many teams in the world can do this.
Well, credit where credit's due. That is a fantastic clutch from Nikki. But really off of the back of a horrible, horrible mistake from Patsy to try and run through that Molotov. And then he was actually through the Molotov. But then he sees the player on site, doesn't fancy it, tries to go back and completely neglects the fact that he's only got 40 HP and he's not able to do that. And a little whiff from Dima as well later on in the round. It definitely gives Nikki the opportunity to convert that one. Patsy, oh, I thought he might actually get away with that. That would have been huge. Instead, though, I don't see them finding anything with this investment. I'm not really sure why Sopfic's gone for this scout. He's actually going to have no money going into the next. Everyone else will have the cash to buy up, though.
This is classic CIS-CS. Force buys galore. Maybe the taser is a little bit out of character. Nevertheless, still an advantage for the Bulgarians, and Nikki is right behind this defense on the B-bomb site. He's going to sniff out everything. That should have been the scout going down and away, but the slight overpeak, a little overzealous there, means he won't quite get away with that one. They're going to give that MAC-10 to a second man. It's Blocker just to sit away in the connector, trying to do this economical damage here with Dima being his first target. Good night. Couple more to find. Remember, it builds up a $600 economy every single time he finds a frag. Decent cash for his back pockets.
Did he just get tagged up by his teammate there?
No, by the scout.
Was it? Okay, I didn't realize the scout had a sightline. He's actually down to 28 HP. He's going to fall right back. Dexter is going to be able to find Patrick and actually retrieve that AK and save it. Now that actually has an impact here because Sophic bought that scout into this round, so that rifle being saved means that actually Dexter can drop an M4 to Sophic and a full buy comes out here. Had that not have been saved, Sophic doesn't have a weapon. He's down to a pistol, maybe an MP9 at best. So saving that AK actually gives them all rifles to work with. And we're going to be pretty even Stevens going into round number 8. Of course, Fate are 1 ahead. But the weaponry is all fair. Slightly, well, lacking in utility. ESPADA are on that CT side. But the detriment of the MAC-10 as well for Fate.
Still basically a push of rounds right here. Fate, I would say, a slight advantage, but the opportunity to strike right back here. But they have to bolster up this B defense. This double defense here just hasn't really been working out for ESPADA. I feel like they need the quick rotate over. These flashes have been absolutely flawless. This time it's Dexter tucked inside, and there's the double entry once again from Fate. Just targeting and pinpointing the defenders on this B site, and it's routinely winning them rounds here. Should be another one on the board. Sotvik spotted. They know exactly where the after plants are placed, but nothing to be done about this one for ESPADA. Might just be a fall away, considering they've got incredibly low HP. Just keeping these 3 rifles alive might be the difference maker in the next. That'll be the 9th round, and it's starting to get a little too close for comfort here. Finally, with the rifles being ripped out of this server, ESPADA, you see their cash. They've got barely anything to work with. Only Sotvik potentially surviving.
Well, it's good old round number 8, and that gives us an opportunity to talk about our partners at Hellcase. Make sure you're using code MALTAV15 for a 15% refill bonus. Back into the game now. Fate, they're back in the driving seat. Of course, they took that pistol round, then they kind of threw it away. ESPADA were able to string together a few off of it, but Fate are certainly finding their footing on their T side here on train, and well, taking this lead, they should be able to extend it further as well, as they will just be against what is in effect an eco here from ESPADA, just with an M4 on Sotvik. It should just be easy pickings for them. Ooh. Nice shot from Dexter, though, to keep the numbers at bay for now.
Peculiar frag with the Molotov, but shouldn't really mean too much considering this is a fairly low buy from ESPADA. Gotta say, I would have preferred ESPADA maybe even to float Vertigo in a series like this. It usually looks obvious when you're playing a team like Fate, and after the scoreline, it's 2020 vision. Hindsight is obviously 2020. I wonder if this would have been much different if ESPADA had forced Fate into a map that I guess both teams are slightly less comfortable on. You look at Fate's performances on Vertigo especially, they go 50-50 in matchups. I guess they would have been equally as confident, and that's what's so scary about the vetoes in a best of 3. You've only got 1 ban before your opponent's pick, and with Fate having such a strong map pool, and a strong map pool in comparison to ESPADA as well, I do feel like the foregone conclusion of this series is Fate, a very one-sided train, ESPADA, a fairly one-sided Mirage, and then we go to Dust 2, where perhaps it's all to play for. A couple of quick kills from the CTs is going to hold this attack at bay momentarily. With only Blocker versus 3, he's got quite a powerful position here, moving in through the back lines. I don't think ESPADA are ready for this one. Back's turned, and Blocker hasn't spotted anything yet. He's going to trade places with Finnegan and get right behind this defense. But with the crossfire place, there's a headshot. Oh, he finds the second. Finnegan, though, he hasn't exposed himself as of this point, and Ivy might be incredibly powerful. He's got the back line. Blocker has no idea where he's moving from. Almost gets to swing. When you see those first couple of bullets missing, a little bit of a heart stopper. 6-4. ESPADA finally back on the board.
Well, Finnegan's played that quite well. As soon as he realizes that Blocker's actually walked straight past him, he goes around to Ivy, which is the last place Blocker's going to expect, considering the AWP was watching Ivy. Yeah, they had this crossfire where they had the AWP holding Ivy. They had that close player to swing as well. So they were really expecting Blocker to come from Ivy, and therefore there's no way Blocker realizes that the opponent's coming from there. Actually a really nice round in the end for ESPADA, a valiant attempt from Blocker, but it's responded to well, and exactly what you were saying before, it comes down to, with these picks and bans, it really comes down to that all-important question of, do you ban your worst map, or do you actually ban your opponent's best map? And that tends to come down to how wide your map pool is. If you're confident on a flurry of maps and actually maybe you and your opponent share a worst map, then you can get away with sort of target banning and banning their best map, and that can put you in a really advantageous position. That's not necessarily the case here, of course, with Nuke being banned straight away for ESPADA. It means that they do have to face up on Mirage against a side like ESPADA. And look at this. 2 quick kills coming in. This becomes very doable for Fate. The issue is the very low HP on Mar here. 3 versus 2. Finnegan's coming in from Ivy. Should be able to find this kill onto Blocker, and that might just seal the Fate.
Could certainly do so. Good flash. There's the conversion up to 5. And ESPADA looking a little more confident on this CT force now. Nicely closing up the distance. I think that to be even favored in this one, they probably have to draw this back to a 9-6 finish. Taking the pistol at that point becomes incredibly important. If you do take less than 9, I feel like the pistol on that T side feels pretty much just like a guarantee. You absolutely do need it. 6-5 on the board. A full buy for both teams, with Han holding that sniper, Dexter also. Pretty standard stuff for both squads. And well, they will be wrapping into this B-bomb site one more time. This seems to be a bullyish tactic for Fate. They seem to have found a weakness here. And, well, maybe actually wrapping back into A with that opening frag. Not really sure. Lots of options on the table.
That early aggression from Sophic just not paying off whatsoever. That AWP actually forcing Fate right off the angle. That gives Patsy a really nice position, but it doesn't mean anything right now as Fate are actually pushing right onto B, and the timing on Finnegan is absolutely impeccable. Dexter's doing some good work with this AWP, but only converting the leg. Can't get the follow-up with the pistol. Dima's coming and found himself 2 in the meantime. Now a 2 versus 2 situation. Patsy's just spotted that player dropping as well from the back. He's got a hell of a rotation on his hands to get in here. Dima's really got to stay alive, but that's such a difficult task. He's done tons of damage onto Han. He knows his exact position as well. A grenade here would be well, very beneficial. Almost connecting that shot through the smoke as well.
He actually did do even more damage. The incendiary is going to fall at the wrong angle. And Aymar, he's got an incend of his own. Needs to throw that right down to this bomb site. And I know with the smoke, that doesn't seal the deal, but the shots certainly do. All out of time means Patsy is very likely going to go up in flames. As Mar finishes him off also. That's another on the board for Fate. Up to 7 here. And we will watch that again. It's the shots from Dima to even bring this back in contention here. You do see a little bit of damage found onto Han through that smoke. Even finishes him off as well. That's a nice triple conversion, but doesn't even win them the round. That's got to be slightly painful at this point. 3 key kills. Unable to take it over the top. I think you're expecting a little more than that.
You really are. That's a really good attempt from him there. I do wonder whether Patsy could have had that defuse. You know, when the smoke was down, he was looking for it and he couldn't seem to find it in that smoke, and then he ran away, ended up getting taken down anyway. I do wonder whether, had he got on that straight away, he would have had time to defuse it. Dima getting tagged up super low with that grenade early on. With that smoke grenade going down, I think Fate 100% anticipate him to be behind that box, especially considering they threw that grenade. I very much expect that they pre-fire this. Dima actually just tries to swing out. That is definitely gonna secure his position for Fate, but they need to kill Dexter to get to him first. Nicky's found himself both the kills, and that gives Fate a huge advantage in round number 13 with a minute left on the clock.
Dima practically just gives up there. He knows he's dead to rights in that corner. It's such a difficult position to get out of when you're on 100 HP. So being on just a measly 11, never feel good. This is a full stack of the B-bomb site for ESPADA. I always call this a double-edged sword. If the T's push into this trio of defense, the likelihood is ESPADA could easily take the round. If not, they can try and save these 3 rifles, albeit one is just the scout. But with the money being crushed, I think they'll be thankful to even carry the less premium sniper through to the next round. I'll be just trying to dart towards heaven. Fate will probably rummage the map. But they're not on too much money themselves. I think it is cost effective to try and hunt for these rifles, but what do you want to invest? Apparently nothing. The kills all come in. Only Patsy surviving here gives away his position and maybe an 8k, but how is he going to be able to get away from this one? Another headshot almost secures his exit, but 1 point of health remaining. I think he is dead to rights right now, and Blocker's just going to secure another one. No money for ESPADA. They are money screwed, Jay. They've got nothing really to work with in this next. I think it'll just be Deagle and a little bit of body Kevlar. This really does suck once again for, well, the team that the better seem to think they were the favorites on this map. I think that Fate were probably the favorites. I think that form is probably starting to speak at that point. You look at Fate's previous series. They did beat ESPADA earlier this morning, quite convincing, but losses against Forza, Galaxy Racer, K23. That's quite a hard streak of series.
It really is. I think it's right to assume ESPADA to be the favourites coming into this series. The favourites coming into this map, though, it's definitely another story. Fate are incredibly strong on train. They're showcasing that perfectly here. And whilst they've taken this A main control, Han's sitting out the back. He's ready for this aggression. If ESPADA overstep here, Han is going to punish them for it. And to be honest, their current positions are irrelevant. I don't think Han pushes in here without anticipating that they've taken this, and this might just be a free couple of kills. There we go. Finds Sophic. Dexter's right in this corner. I'm sure it's cleared, and there we go. Han finds himself both the frags, actually almost deals some damage onto his teammate. Teamer falls. This is looking all but over for ESPADA as Blocker lands himself 2 clean headshots, and Patsy last alive, a 1v5. I see very little hope for him in this sort of half investment for ESPADA. Nonetheless, Fate are going to be able to put 9 rounds on the board, as ESPADA will force into the last to try and contest this final round of the half.
Yeah, I really cannot see ESPADA picking train anytime soon, to be perfectly honest. I don't think that they've showed us very much on this CT side. At the best, they'll be able to take 6 rounds here. I talked about a 6-9 half being maybe even slightly advantageous for them, but going to be at best a 6-9 half, but the other way. Certainly not a good way to start. Here's a goodbye to finish, though. Look at that scoreboard. Sotvig, only 3 kills on the CT side. Really quite weak. Only Dexter on 14. That's the only kind of acceptable scoreline here for ESPADA. Whereas Fate, it's quite the contrary. Nikki, Blocker, both on 15 kills. The opportunity to gain a couple more here in number 15 here. Last round of the half.
Absolutely the opportunity. Are they going to be able to pull it off, though? I really like this angle from Dexter early on. He's not going to be able to find anything from it, though, as Nicky opens things up with the Deagle in hand. Let's get onto this B bomb site. There's only a solo anchor playing the angle, and they're able to just swarm in. Nicky, timing doesn't quite work out for him. Sopfic's able to find a freebie, but in the meantime, Mars creeping around on the lurk. Should be able to cut off at least one of these rotations if Patrick doesn't do so first. This is all falling apart for ESPADA as Patsy. He's last alive. He surely falls in due time. He actually finds himself a free kill onto Han, but still a 1 versus 3 for him to clutch up, and, well, he has to go for it. It's the last round of the half. As soon as he walks through here, surely he just falls to Patrick. There we go. Patrick pops a bullet in his head. Fate put their 10th on the board in the first half as they take double digits, 10-5. Fantastic T-side performance from them on train.
That's why they pick it. That's why Fate absolutely know that train is their home map. Taking, of course, their previous opponents, K23, incredibly close on this particular territory. Or maybe not train, but in that series in the second map of Overpass, I would say that despite a loss on train against K23, they can't be too disheartened about that. K23 are really powerful opposition at this tier of play. We know that they show up to a lot of these series, firing on absolutely all cylinders, and Fate just couldn't bring the fight in that particular map. Nevertheless, they're certainly bringing it to ESPADA in this one. We talked about those close odds before. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be too close anymore. Fate a nice dominant, decisive lead on their T side. Now they've got to defend. It's the home straight to try and finish this one off.
This is really a must-win pistol round for ESPADA, I think, here. If they let this one slip away, Fate should be able to put themselves close enough to that magic number that they'll be able to close it out. If they do, though, there's an opportunity for them to close this gap, especially if they can string together a couple of rounds off of it. We could definitely be looking at a 10-8, then it's definitely in contention. Right now they're opting over towards B. There are going to be 3 players for Fate holding this one up. And look at these odds. That is certainly more one-sided than I expected. That's more one-sided than the 13-2 half that we saw earlier on.
The bettors absolutely love Fate, supposedly. Well, they do get shut down on the B bomb site, with Ma being the last survivor. Instantly gets nailed. Now a 2 versus 3. Still opportunities for Fate in this one, but with the Glock playing up close and personal, what can Patsy get done to try and close away this one? Nikki again leaves Patsy in a bit of a spot of bother. There's another headshot. And Patrick wants to get it all done on his lonesome, checking all of these angles. Patsy is history. The bomb, it's fairly far ticked at this point, and with the kit now retrieved, he is going to dive on that defuse. Oh no, he's holding it down. Finnegan needs to pick right now. He's missing everything. Finally nails that shot. Last possible milliseconds of the round. That is going to be a 6th for ESPADA.
I do wonder how long was left on that defuse. That must have been a sliver. That came incredibly close.
Pretty much as close as it gets. That puts a 6th and at least an opportunity. We know, looking at the statistics, that ESPADA are actually slightly better on this T side. Sounds weird, but it's true when you look at the numbers. I don't know if that'll come to pass in this particular series. We know how good Fate can be at defending on this particular map. And well, let's see if that continues.
Couple of early engagements. Brings things into a 4-on-4 very early on. This should just be a clear-cut round for ESPADA, especially considering they're just against the Deagle of Ma. Very limited utility, a scout, an SMG. They still need to play this one properly, though. It's looking like they're going for an A execute here. Minute left on the clock. They set up these smokes. And here we go. They rain over. They push in with these rifles. They need to find these initial kills. And Blocker being smoked off here might actually work out in his favour.
And they are going to go for the swing out towards the A side of the map. An opportunity for Fate to bounce right back, considering they have not a favourable buy here, but a favourable amount of players left in the server. That Fama sucks at long range and, of course, loses the battle. Blocker trades more than evenly once again. Clock down to just 25 seconds. Sodfig, he wants to be the aggressive prod, and with only 20 seconds left, he's got the bomb in his hand. He needs to find this kill right here, right now, and rush back to the A site. But Nikki might be able to deny this. If he swings in, that C4 spotted. Oh, he just dives away. With Dexter going down, I don't think they can plant this bomb. He finally does, but Blocker ends him. Instant shot with the AK-47. That's up to 11 for Fate. A round robbed away.
Absolutely. That should be a free round there. That should be a free round for ESPADA. And instead, it all goes horribly wrong. And that's what I said. As Blocker gets smoked into Pop Dog, it gives him a world of opportunity. Because as long as he doesn't dive out of that smoke and do something stupid, as long as he doesn't go up the ladder and try and wrap around, he can just sit there. And they don't expect him to be in there in the later round situation. Gives him loads and loads of leg room to work with. ESPADA now just forced down to this eco. I think Fate should just be able to tip this one over the edge. Oh, with this Galil, he's going to have heard the sound cues. This should just be a complete whitewash. They're actually just on a completely full eco here. Only Sotfik with the Deagle. He's able to find himself on with it.
This is all about damage for ESPADA here. They haven't gone for the investment, of course, with the bomb planted in the last. It gives them a preliminary buy in the 19th instead of waiting one more. I guess the risk reward of this is you allow Fate to get onto 12. That's precariously close to the finish line on this first map of the series. I think luckily they've got home territory of Mirage coming up next, which shouldn't really be a sleeper map for Fate. You see they've got 43% on it. 13 wins, 17 losses. Probably not the best performance in the world, but some decent wins. A win against Galaxy Racer, win against Selector, wins against Gambit Youngsters in Singularity. So this is definitely not a dead in the water series if Fate wins this, but maybe even a closely contested second map. We do know how confident ESPADA often are on that particular turf. Obviously, Train being a more rocky road, Molotov holds them off of short. Means the blocker only has to watch towards upper B momentarily before it dissipates, which is, funnily enough, where all of these members are coming from. Deagle's galore. Sopvik finds a pair of shots. Probably shouldn't give the bomb plant here, as they both do fall. Maybe even the opportunity to find somebody after time, but it doesn't come to fruition. 12-6.
They did well in that round to just keep many players alive, means that they don't have to reinvest all too much. The money's still not too great for Fate, so after this full investment, there's actually going to be 4 players, in fact, that really have no money behind them. That certainly means that there's opportunity for ESPADA to reset them here, but they absolutely have to win this round. They lose this one, Fate are able to put themselves onto 14, and I see them just closing this one out. ESPADA, this is their chance to get back into this game. They need to just make sure they don't fall to this aggression. Fate have been getting into these nooks and crannies over and over again. Dima is able to find that opening kill, but it surely gets traded by Nicky. It's a little bit messy, but it does come through. Looking for the second as well, and he converts it. 2 perfect kills for him. There's no trade potential for him there either, as Blocker comes in from behind, and this is another flawless round from Fate.
How do you break this CT side? They seem impenetrable. There's the crossfire again to finish off the final man. Patrick hits the deck. It's 3 now needed for Fate. Seems like a foregone conclusion here on our first map of this decider. And what does ESPADA do? They haven't been taking the tactical pauses. Maybe they even have to go back to the drawing board before the second map. I just think that they're going to be way more confident on it with it being Mirage. Just much trickier terrain for Fate to do this same sort of result. I think if Fate are going to win Mirage coming up, it'll be a much closer result here. Especially considering what we saw earlier. I mean, Fate have been pretty dominant over this ESPADA side over the course of the last 2 maps. That's permitting that they do close this one out. And Mirage isn't just a blowaway map for ESPADA, let's remember. Yes, they've got a very strong CT side. A couple of wins across the board against Apex, Habu, Gambit Youngsters again, and Windstrike. But then losses also against Windstrike. Loss against Namiga, Forza, Spirit. Teams that ordinarily I'd imagine ESPADA would expect to lose to. Mirage on what should be your home map. Those are maps that you're kind of hoping to take over the top, and if Fate are going to win this series convincingly, it might look just like this.
Yeah, they're really not having any trouble dealing with ESPADA right now. Dexter actually surviving just on 2 HP here. Realistically, he wants to die. If he doesn't, then he won't have enough money to buy up with the rest of his team, and he's only got Scout and no Kevlar, so it's much better for him to die than to save here. But he wants to try and drag someone down with him. Around. There's no chance of a plant here, and Nicky's actually got a perfect sideline and takes his head clean off. Fate put themselves onto 14, as ESPADA will be able to buy back into this one. Something interesting that I just picked up on looking back at the vetoes is actually that these 2 teams played together, or played against each other, I should say, earlier on Inferno, and Fate took it rather convincingly. It was 16-9 or something like that. Now, obviously, that means that ESPADA would be a little bit shaky about picking Inferno going into this one, but they actually just outright ban it. First map, straight away. They don't ban their perma-ban, which is Vertigo. They don't try and target ban Fate. They just ban Inferno, which is a map that historically Fate aren't actually very good on, and a map that ESPADA are typically quite good on. So that's quite an interesting kind of veto to go their way there. It's a bit of a weird one. Either way, off the back of this pure aggression, straight off the bat, they find themselves a couple of kills. This might be the lifeline that they need to get into this round and possibly get back into this game. It's a very long road ahead for them to pull this one back, and it needs to start with this round, with Patrick leveling out the numbers again. If they can't convert it, this is certainly all over for ESPADA, and oh my goodness, Patrick, what are you doing?
AK-47 shots galore. Leaves Sotvig clutching at straws. Double stack over by Ivy as well. Instantly eliminates him. 15-6.
What an incredible round from Patrick there. He's actually the man putting up the numbers here. Blockers getting some serious kills as well. Han's gone to sleep a little bit this map. We seem to see him do a lot better than this on any map, especially Train, which is quite an AWP heavy one. Doesn't really matter all too much. His team are certainly pulling the rest of the weight. And it's quite hard to see when a key player isn't showing up on a map that your team are just completely dominating. It leaves the question of whether you're having a poor game or whether actually you're just getting a lack of opportunity as your teammates are all just so fired up. Right now, that nade going to do very, very minimal damage. Blocker with this Molotov in hand, though. As soon as he spots out a player, that flash is actually going to initiate it. The Molotov goes down. There's no smoke for it. At least there is, but it's delayed. And that opens up 3 quick kills. This is surely all over for ESPADA.
Very convincing finish here. That is an absolute masterclass from Fate from start to finish. 16-6. Very powerful performance there on Train. And yeah, I've got to say, just a home map for Fate. They show us why exactly again. They're just littling it down to a 2 versus 4 and finishing things off very nicely. Very convincing performance. To just start off this series. Of course, we go to home territory for ESPADA next in the form of Mirage, but a 16-6, that's quite a statement to get us started.
It absolutely is, especially at the start when it seemed quite close. I really wasn't expecting it to go like that.
Maybe it is a statement.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, no, it is.
I guess it
incredible?
Is a statement. Either way, we're going to go to a very short break, but don't go very far because we'll see you in about 10 minutes for perhaps the final series of Group C.
Nice shot. Lock and load. show you how it is done. Yeah, no. Woo, damn! That was one of the best tickle fights I've been to.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Eden Arena Malta Vibes. You're still here watching Week 8 as things are starting to get heated over in Group C. It's the decider live right now. Fate 1-0 up after convincingly taking Train. That was 16-5. Let's look at just how this bracket is shaping up. Of course, we've already lost our first team, Crazy. They went out in that elimination over on the B stream just about an hour ago. And now we've got to find our second and final team who's going to make the playoffs from this group. It's either going to be Fate or ESPADA. ESPADA are going to have to take a 2-map tear if they're going to win this one. But with Mirage, a home map coming up, Jay, do you think they can do it? Yeah, I think that they might be able to take it over the edge. I think that, like, obviously, ESPADA, they've been a pretty decent force throughout this tournament thus far, and just, yeah, an incredible threat. You see them take not many rounds against Fate in the initial 2 maps that they played. Of course, that best of ones usually play quite differently, don't they? Obviously, it's ban until the finish. There's none of these picks. You don't get to play on your home map, but finally Mirage, a map that perhaps they should be more confident on.
Absolutely, yeah. I think ESPADA should be able to tip this one over the edge on Mirage, considering it is their map pick. They're a lot more comfortable on it. I would say that potentially they'll be sort of demoralized a bit by the fact that they took such a heavy loss on Train, but we've seen it over quite a few of the maps that we've casted recently, where actually a team will take a really heavy loss in the first map of the series and just bounce right back in their own pick. Looking at this player head-to-head, Nicky was the man that was on fire for Train on Fate's side. 2.36 KD ratio. That's absolutely fantastic. And actually, for a player that we don't normally talk about in these head-to-heads, it's normally a blocker or a hard. Sometimes it might be Patrick, but very rarely do we see Nicky putting up numbers like that.
Wow. Just in the mid-20s at a game that was that short as well. Really impressive stuff in that opening map. If you can continue that pace, then I think that this could be a 2-0 here. But that is a good point, right? Fate, they have to fire on all cylinders. Mirage is a very scrimmy, scrappy map. And we know that ESPADA from top to bottom have the firepower to actually take this series full force into their own hands. We might see Mirage go very similarly, a mirror image to Train just a couple of moments ago. We know that they're confident on it, but this isn't a walkover. Fate have taken a number of big wins here on Mirage. It's a map that they will happily float as a third map in certain series, and even if they lose it, they've got Dust 2 to fall back on as well. So I think for Fate, the pressure is down, whereas for ESPADA, they've got to win 2 on the trot to even stay in this tournament.
For ESPADA, the pressure is absolutely on. And the thing is right now is the fact that actually Fate, whilst they're not massively confident on Mirage, they don't have a great win rate on it either. A lot of their losses on it were sort of earlier on. Obviously, they play so much and they've played so many maps over the last 3 months that they've actually played Mirage about 30 times, which is just mental. Now, ESPADA have a much better win rate. However, in recent weeks, Fate have actually won Mirage against a number of top teams. And I'll give you a list through them now. So they beat Selector, they beat Galaxy Racer, and then a couple of weeks prior to this, they actually beat Gambit Youngsters 16-7 on Mirage, and they beat Singularity 16-12. So there's some big names and some big wins there, and I think it's absolutely viable to expect ESPADA to add on to that list.
Yeah, not a walkover whatsoever. Let's get into the knife round for this second map of this series. Of course, if Fate win it, they can take over the top 2-0, convincing performance. Let's see if they can hold up that pressure, though. And with so many players firing on all cylinders for Fate, they're a perfect storm on their first map of this series. It's all down to whether they can continue this pace and contain the ESPADA members.
Map. Both teams are pretty comfortable with it. In fact, both teams have a very, very similar very good win rate on it. ESPADA 65%, Fate 22%, across a similar tally of maps, across a similar caliber of team as well. So that would be a really interesting third map if it came to it.
Did you say 22%? You said 22%.
Did I say 22%?
Yeah, do you mean 62? Yeah.
62 and 65, yeah.
I was going to say 22%'s not a very good win rate.
I'm tired, Squid. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
Morning shift.
Couple of best of threes, not much sleep. That's fine. I can excuse that. Getting into this action, all of these teams have to be fired up and ready to go at absolutely all moments, especially in a series like this. ESPADA seemingly slight favorites to take this to a third right now. I think the betting odds at the start of this series said that they were ever so slightly ahead, with Train and Dust 2 being two of these key maps. We've realistically just got to see what ESPADA can bring to the server in terms of that firepower. And Fate seems to be going for a fairly standard setup here. Just try and find that first shot up on the ramp, fall back perhaps. Of course, if Patrick goes down here, that drops that kit away towards this ticket booth and activates some sort of retake. This seems to be a favorite for ESPADA though, taking quick jungle control, looking already more confident, and the retake is already thrown into full force.
Absolutely. This is a bizarre setup for ESPADA. They've got 3 players over towards jungle. Fate, a 5 versus 4 retake for them to pull off. There is a kit on Patrick, and they're actually just going to smoke the bomb and try and hold this. This is the danger of going for this setup. When the smoke goes down and the kit comes through, you've got a hell of a task on your hands to try and hold it up, and the defuse comes in. Nothing left that Dima can do. He's just going to run away and try and save that Kevlar. A fantastic retake from Fate, very well orchestrated, and it leads to the question of ESPADA's post-plant setup there. Was that really the best option to go for? Personally, I don't think so. Fate take the lead here early on then, and actually just diving into their stats a little bit further, they heavily favour this CT side on Mirage, so winning that knife round and kicking it off on the defensive side might actually be a blessing for them, might allow them to convert some rounds early on and really apply the pressure to ESPADA in this first half.
That pistol, truly just out of the textbook for Fate. We saw K23 actually throw together a very similar CT pistol earlier on today, where you just smoke that bomb, try and get the defuse through. Now the job is to hold up in this second, and with the Scout already pitching in for that first aggressive frag, of course towards the top of mid, makes things a lot more difficult. Dinked right through this ticket booth means Patrick's under heavy fire and has to just backtrack off this A bomb site. What do they do with this one? Maybe even deciding to save early. Fate, they maybe want to just try and find this opening frag, but looks like the T side actually has an even better buy than Fate coming into this second. Makes things incredibly difficult. Here come the flurry of frags. 4 out of 5 instantly found. Finnegan's position exposed. Means this Galil really can't do much about this. Instantly that defuse will come through. There's not a kit supposedly. So with Finnegan trying to backtrack in, there's no way he can prevent this right now. 2-0 for Fate. Where do those kills come from? It's Nikki again providing 2 quick kills, starting off strong on Mirage.
Nikki looking fantastic so far in this series, and a completely wasted investment from ESPADA there. I've seen more often recently these teams, after they actually get that T-side bomb plant, go for the eco in the second. Now, historically, especially with the newer economy system, you tend to go for that force buy almost every time and pull out those Galils. That's what ESPADA went for there. They did get themselves another plant, so it actually means they've got a little bit of money to work with here. They can buy some Deagles, some Kevlar on a couple of these players and still have a buy in the next. But Fate firmly put themselves in front straight off the bat at the start of this game.
And this is where things start to get a little touch and go. Nice nade. Eliminates Patsy just down to half HP. Not a good way to start a round like this when you're one of the only 2 players on your team with Kevlar. Good start as Finnegan is able to pipe through with the opener. He's got the only rifle on this team if you discount that Scout. Of course, that Galil probably the primary purchase. just save through from the previous round with that bomb going down as well. You don't get punished for saving as the T side. You don't often see it, but he really did have no choice in that second. Anyway, instantly drops, and more HE's thrown into the mix. That one's not going to do too much.
Well, damage has already been dealt. It is, of course, still a 4-on-4, and with Blocker on 30 HP, there's, of course, potential for him to be taken down by these pistols. With 30 seconds on the clock, though, ESPADA need to speed this one up. They're charging through ramp, and Patrick's got all the information. He's going to call these rotations. He's got his teammate Blocker there to support him, but a bullet straight in his head, he certainly didn't account for that. Blocker is able to find himself one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's instantly traded here, though. He is taken down 2 for his trouble. And now it's Mar and Nicky. Nicky's got a long rotations coming from behind here, and with Sopvik on that scout, it leaves it all down to a 2-on-1. Somehow ESPADA have managed to pull their way back into this one. And Nicky's got a task on his hands.
He's already heard the Sopvik rap, so this is not going to be a surprise here for the final CT. As Nicky creeps and crawls his way through, he has to be hyper aware that this secondary sniper rifle is coming in from the rear. He's not going to check it instead. Just trying to unburrow this CT position. Has to take this last angle against Dexter. There's the shot. And I don't think he's got enough time to even deal with the scout to defuse this bomb. Instead, it's saving this AK-47, which becomes the priority. Yes, all of the information was given and granted, but he doesn't do too much with it. Perfect after plants for ESPADA. And realistically, that takes their first with a minimum null and void investment. Sopvik Zorp just doing, or Escape perhaps, just doing so much damage there, finding, I think, 3 tags, a frag mixed in the mix. And while 2-1 being the scores on the doors, Fate are going to have, well, they're going to be hard pressed to get the buy inside, but an MP9, a FAMAS, a lack of utility on the rifles.
Mar has actually dealt tons of damage through that smoke early on, converting that kill onto Dexter. Dima in the apartments on the other side of this smoke. Getting up close and personal, certainly being assertive with presence, and even more assertive with that kill onto Nicky. It is instantly traded by Hahn, but as Finnegan finds one of his own on A, things level out into a 3-on-3. This buy round shaping up to be quite eventful, especially as ESPADA have somewhat got them way onto this A bomb site. The real issue is the fact that Patrick's really deep in ramp and the bomb is absolutely miles away. As soon as Sopvik rotates round, he surely just gets taken out by Patrick here. He's even going to have his knife in his hand. This is an absolutely free kill. Oh, wow. Almost turns away at the wrong moment despite hearing the sound cue. Oh, that became dangerous for a second or two, but I think it's back in firm Fate territory.
Well, that's a mistake. Hahn allows the opening here, but Patrick does close. 3-1. Fate, not the cleanest of rounds, considering they only survived with 2 players alive. But back on the board here, and Sopvik again picks up that scout. Doesn't leave him with too much cash here. Of course, the loss bonus is still fairly fully built up. I think they get 2,400, 2,900 in the next. The maths is a little bit shaky, M&J. Nevertheless, ESPADA, it is a fairly wholesome eco here. Not really much thrown into the mix with the exception of this less premium sniper as they head towards the B site.
Yeah, really not a whole lot for ESPADA to work with here. Blocker getting on an underpass should be able to find himself a freebie. Actually spots out the head. Sopvik is so quick on that scout. We've seen him pull together some fantastic frags with it over the past few rounds. That rifle's completely unretrievable though. Mar's actually going to secure that with the sideline on short. ESPADA with their second 3 players up over towards top mid. Looking to clear it further. They're going to grab that bomb. I assume they go round to B here. Those 2 players are trying to get up short. Maybe go for this B split. With a minute left on the clock, they have to start making their mind up. For now, Fate aren't getting aggressive by any means. Playing this one very, very passive.
It's Nicky's job to fairly solo hold this one down in a way, and maybe an angle that Dima can't afford to check here before he makes his pursuit onto the B bomb site. Great touch and go angle. Of course, they've got Ma as the secondary support up upon short. Just tucked away inside that ladder room. And that pretty much ends things towards this side of the map. Now the scout has to pick in for seconds. There it is. But and then cut away with the null and void investment. 10 seconds left. Sokvig needs to make sure that he dies here before the time expires. And if I was Fate, I'd be allowing him to survive right now. There's the peek on through. Sokvig, just 2 seconds left on the board, and there is an M4 for his troubles. Back to the AK. So he actually gets away with this one as they try and close inside. Unable to do so. 4-1.
That becomes absolutely viable once he picks up that AK, but it's very dangerous when you've got a scout, no Kevlar in hand. To not die there would be absolutely detrimental. Picking up that AK there means he can buy some Kevlar around it. He's got a little bit of utility to work with as well. He was the one that invested in that scout that round, so he actually had the lowest money on his side. Nonetheless, still the sufficient buy, and well, the skill behind him to hit a headshot like that onto Han gives his team the man advantage as they swarm onto this B-bomb site. The FAMAS responds. 4 versus 4 now as Finnegan's burning in the flames, but it doesn't matter. Converts 2 for his troubles, and now a huge advantage for ESPADA as they get this bomb down on the B site.
What do Patrick and Blocker do about this one? Looks like they want to gun onto B, and Blocker taking a blind shot through that smoke. Unable to find any seconds here. Just tucked away behind bench. He's instantly going to be found. 3 from Finnegan. Orp picked as well. Good round from ESPADA, all things considered. Their second buy round definitely doesn't fall on deaf ears, as that was a complete bombardment of that B bomb site, and combine that with quite a few kills in the ecos and the half buys. Realistically means that Fate cannot invest into this 7th. I think it will just be the single eco here. A couple of Deagles picked up that favorite, the taser for Han. I think he gets out a AWP with body armor in the next. Blocker Mar, both can afford M4s, and then maybe Nikki and Patrick onto the FAMA/MP9. So it won't be an ideal buy. It'll be scrappy in the 8th. But this one should be anything but. Should be a very clean round for ESPADA if they play the cards right. They've set themselves up quite nicely to do so, with Finnegan just burrowed inside the palace. Should be that anchor that ESPADA can respond off here. I imagine that they just send this right up connector into Patrick's face. And he's the only defender on this A bomb site as well. So this will crumble incredibly quickly.
He's got a nice position here. He might be able to deny a plant or something if they don't expect him. For now, I think he'll definitely just get shut down as soon as Finnegan comes out of the apartments, or actually Palace. He should just spot him out, and that should be the end of it. That's exactly what's going to happen. Finnegan puts a bullet in his head. What do the rest of these guys do here? I assume they just go for exit frags. They've literally got nothing to save. There's not a whole lot of point in charging in for a retake. Instead, yeah, they're going to group up together, sit in the apartments. Okay, they are going to save here, try and lure someone in. Maybe ESPADA assume that they've gone for some kind of force if they're saving these weapons. Maybe they expect them to be saving something. I don't know. It depends how good their read is. Finnegan's already hunting. Clearly thinks they have something.
So just a deficit of 1 here for ESPADA, as they might be able to take the lead after this single rifle round. As I said before, Fate don't have a lot to work with in this 8th. See that Han, I think he must have the AWP. Funnily enough, in this HUD, the taser does take priority. That's a little bit of a funky one when it comes to fruition, but he instantly drops nonetheless, and that is a big deal. He had the AWP, and with Dexter finding that second, this is all crumbling for Fate once more. Their defense, it's falling apart, Jay. Yeah, Patrick trying to swing one back towards the palace, but doesn't find that opening. Very important stuff.
Well, rather impactful kill for Malta to find, especially with that bomb still being in top mid. Gives them some time and some room to stretch their legs, but as Nicky falls, that might just be the end of this one. A 4 versus 2 now. Patrick, he's miles away from the action. It's going to be such a long rotation for him, and especially with Mar falling there. That's all said and done. Patrick just left with this MP9 against 4. Best he can really hope for here is maybe an exit frag. If he can grab himself an AK and bring that into the next round, it might do something. Either way, Fate aren't going to be on a buy, so I don't think it'll be massively impactful. But it's definitely better than just running in and dying at this point. He might be able to find Finnegan here around this corner. This was the player he was rooting to find earlier, and he is able to convert it. That is going to be a free AK for him, a Molotov to pick up as well on the floor there. He might be able to do more damage. That's exactly what he's going for. If he does more damage here, then it certainly forces a reinvestment for ESPADA. They've got plenty of money behind them, but he's making it costly. Got no time on this bomb, but if he can convert all the kills, that's exactly what he does. That's fantastic. He's even able to retrieve an AWP. That's very, very good from Patrick there.
That damage really does come down to matter, especially when the money is so pressured, but you really see for ESPADA, they've got plenty of cash. Finnegan, Dexter, Sotvik, all above the $4,000 mark. Patsy and Deem are not really too far behind. Means this is going to be another pressure round for Fate. And considering I don't think they can put all too much investment in it around this AWP, it becomes incredibly difficult here. I'd like to see Patrick maybe just throw that one over to Han. He's had a bit of a rough start, albeit he's had a bit of a rough series. Train wasn't his most convincing of maps. Lucky that all of the building blocks were set up around him to actually do the damage. Patrick's been a very consistent player thus far today, and not always the member that we talk about being at the top of these tables. It was Nicky on Train. Maybe he's having a time to shine here on Mirage. 5 lots of AK-47s here for ESPADA. Deciding to drop that AWP, not use it into the next. Of course, money wasn't the issue in this investment. Nevertheless, just wanting something a little bit faster and going and gunning towards the A bomb site might be the way to go, especially as they're circumnavigating this AWP. It's miles away, practically the longest rotation possible on Mirage right now. As Demon's going to just cart these CTs apart. There's the next spotted. The whole of this defensive half falls. And now, Patrick, what do you do? I guess just save this sniper is the best bet.
That's absolutely the best bet. He will actually have money to buy one in the next if needs be, but it's a stupid investment to have to make just because he throws it away. You might not be expecting Sophic there, but it doesn't matter. He connects the shot nonetheless. Patrick's position is now known, and they're certainly going to be hunting for him, knowing that he has this AWP. He's the only guy with 4K on the team, everyone else on the 2K mark, so ESPADA might actually be expecting him not to be able to invest in another AWP next round. They're expecting a lot of players here. They've got the money to do so. They've actually got plenty of cash behind them. But feeding these kills to Patrick can be a very, very dangerous game. He currently sits on 11. It's nice to see him step up. He is normally a very consistent player, but he's not one of those guys that's putting up like the massive numbers like Blocker normally does, like Khan normally does. It's nice to see him making these big plays for his team here on Mirage. They now trail by 1. Another timeout comes in. They've got to be careful not to use all their timeouts too early. If this map goes to a 4:30, maybe even an overtime, they might find themselves all out of these tactical timeouts.
This is actually fairly consistently what Fate have decided to do in a lot of these close cut series, is eat those tactical timeouts early. Yeah, it does leave you a little deprived as you go to that T-half, but there's no real point in using them while the game is ended. They seem to be one of the only teams in this whole tournament who seem to make full use out of these tacks. And I've not read the rule set personally. I don't know if you get those tacticals refilled if we go into OT. Maybe you just have the 4 for the whole map. I'm not really sure. But yeah, using them early, gaining a little bit of momentum, having a little bit of a break of pace. You don't want this to go 6-4, 7-4. Allow ESPADA to just dominate this second map of the day, which I think we were almost expecting to happen even after that first map of Train going one-sided. We knew that this was ESPADA home turf. Even on the CT side here, Fate, yes, they are going to be pushed for every single round. If they are going to take it, it's probably going to come down to the full 29, full 30. Come down to a lot of rounds of close game. And maybe this still has the opportunity to be somewhat of a blowout.
There's certainly potential for it. The issue is the aggressive stance that ESPADA have taken on short. Ma, 3 players on the other side of this box. There's no way he's expecting it. It all comes down to the timing as they boost onto this box. He's actually able to find himself one. It is instantly traded, but loads of information gained. And Nicky had that flash pop to second earlier. He might have been able to find himself 1 kill there. Instead, he gets taken out. Hahn now left with no sightline as that smoke pops. This might just be a save call for Fate. I think that might just be the case. They fall right back off of this one. They don't want to retake this B site, especially not with a man disadvantage.
That's a big deal. Patrick also falling. This defense is starting to fall apart at the seams here for Fate. They're not picking up an acceptable number of rounds, and even with that kill coming through, it's just not going to have a massive effect. You see that the money for ESPADA is already fairly built up. Finnegan's going to have touching on $10,000 going into this next round, the 11th. And realistically, Fate are on a massive back foot with the economy back in the dumpster. Here going into the business end of their CT side, and realistically, they might be staring down the barrel of a third and final map here. It feels like all of these Fate series go the absolute distance. This one seemingly no different here. 6-4, firm opportunity to take a 7th. This buy actually looks a little better than I expected. I guess with, I think, 5 in a row here, the money is fairly fully built up for Fate. So opportunity to get just a full buy in hand.
ESPADA just applying pressure over and over again. We actually see 3 players in top mid again. This time Miles taking more of an aggressive stance, but he knows he can't face this. He's got no support from anybody else. Hahn actually going for the peak just before the smoke blooms. Can't quite connect the shot, misses it by an inch. In the meantime, Blocker swings out from connector though. Whilst they had no grasp of mid in the opening seconds of the round, it seems that as ESPADA have tried to take it, Fate have responded very well indeed, finding these picks, and actually Blocker lands himself another. The AWP doesn't quite convert either. Blocker, is he able to find this kill onto the AWPer? Not quite. Either way, Dexter,
oh, no.
This might go wrong. He could have connected that shot, and had he have done so, that would have been the upset of the game. But a 1v1 now, and Hahn, he's dancing around the map.
He is a globetrotter heading into the apartments. Dexter's going to have no idea where this final man is coming from. Switches to the AK. Dexter, obviously known as that premium sniper. And he is actually watching for Hahn here. Up towards the apps. Finally turns his back on the competition as he heads back towards mid to try and retrieve that C4. Might even head on to the A bomb site here. That seems to be the easier option. And Hahn, oh no, he's misread the scenario. He's heading backwards once more. Dexter's all the way into window room. And this might be straight onto short. I feel like Hahn's going to hear this one out. All of the footsteps given away. And with 10 seconds left, Hahn, oh, he's got the upper hand. Needs to dive onto this B bomb site. And he doesn't even need to. Dexter plants in the open. And that's a 5th for Hahn. That could have very easily been the 1 versus 3 for Dexter. Just doesn't come to be.
It could have very easily been the 1v3 for Dexter when he went for that shot onto Hahn in the window. Very, very narrowly missing. Had that shot hit, that would have been an incredible clutch. And exactly as you say, even in that final scenario, it all just came down to what bomb site he chose to go onto. It was a 50-50 gamble. Hahn had put all of his eggs in one basket right at the start of this clutch. Luckily for him, it pays off at the end. Right now, Fate only trailing by 1. The money's still in the favour of ESPADA as they push right onto this A bomb site. Patrick backs against the wall, needs to try and fight out of this one with his MP9. And Aid does some damage. He actually does tons of damage with this MP9. Blocker's now able to chime in, and the Molotov's good for another kill. These M4s, oh, tons of damage dealt again, but still only 1 frag. It's Dexter and Dima to try and clutch up this 2v2. But between them, they've got less than 50 points of health.
They actually don't. They have 53, Jay. Let's go for the maths. 28 plus 25. Come on, what is it?
Yeah, it's 53.
Chat can help him out as well.
I know, I'm a noob. I looked at it quickly and I was like, oh, they both look low.
I guess you weren't expecting your co-commentator in CS Soulmate to just call you out like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't expect me to just throw you under the bus, but we all know I'm a little bit toxic. 6-6. Fate, I don't know how they're pulling this back. We've seen a lot of individualistic Counter-Strike. You saw again from Nikki, just the absolute wide swing onto the A bomb site and only able to trade 1-for-1 against very low HP players. The positions were in place for the retake and just nicely and easily sweeping things in. This looks to be a fast run and gun B execute here as Mar needs to backtrack off this corner. They're going to get incredibly close, incredibly quickly. And there's the jump right over the top. Patsy finds both. It's Mac 10 time on the B bomb site. Dexter with another one. That's the AK coming into play. And Fate, they've been instantly busted out of B.
That's a bit of a shame. They wanted to go for that early boost peak. Obviously, as soon as they hear those steps come in, they call it off. But at that point, you've got the AWP trapped on the site. You've got another rifle trapped on the site as well. They just get completely overwhelmed by that Mac 10. That is rough. That is rough. Because you cancel that AWP pick, and then you're just trapped in a horrible situation with that AWP. Whereas if they don't try and go for that peak, that AWP is probably on bench. Maybe he's on short. Maybe he's playing deep in kitchen. He's actually got a chance of finding 1 or 2 kills on that entry. Randy's going to go to ESPADA then. Fate, they aren't actually able to save themselves a couple of weapons. Bringing that AWP into this one, which is the weapon that they wouldn't have had available had they not have saved here, means that they can actually pull out a pretty hefty buy. A couple of drops come through. This should be full rifles and the AWP. Another buy round going into round number 14. But if they can't convert it, ESPADA should be able to take the half 9-6.
I guess one of the worrying factors for Fate is Nikki, who was the MVP of that last map, has fell fairly dormant here in the first half of Mirage. Only 5 kills thus far. Really needs to get warmed up into this second side. If Fate want to close this out in 2, otherwise, yeah, we do go to Dust 2. Right here, another pretty solid execute onto the A bomb site here. Han is held at bay by these smokes and just unable to get this bomb down. There's the shots. Doesn't connect with anything. And the rotates. They're so late for Fate. Still held upon B. Thought that there was a chance that this was a fake as Dexter with a no-scope jumping up top of those stairs and just instantly ending any chance of this one. Fate are going to have no money left in the last. What a meaty miss from Blocker as this one is finished. It's Dunzo, it's Gonzo. Finnegan doesn't quite finish things, but Nikki should go down here, and he's about to walk into the blender. Sophic finishes him 8-6.
Nikki does some nice damage there, and I think Dexter actually falls to the bomb right at the end too. However, that damage is completely irrelevant. It's round number 15. ESPADA have got plenty of cash in the bank, so they can invest whatever they want. They could have multiple AWPs. They could have an auto sniper. They can really have whatever they want right now going into round number 15. The same cannot be said for Fate. Obviously, last round was their full investment. Now they're just going to be down to some SMGs, whatever shoddy buy they can pull out in the last of the half. Let's try and get this one done. If they can do so, then they have an 8-7, which really isn't too bad, considering they're starting off on the CT side, and that's the side that historically they quite heavily favour. I would have expected more than 6. But on your opponent's map pick, 6 or 7 can be sufficient as long as you win that pistol round. That's really what Fate are relying on right here, right now.
Yeah, they absolutely have to start relying on the firepower as well. 2 players have broken the double-digit mark, Blocker Patrick, but nothing absolutely sensational. I guess Patrick has been putting up the numbers, but nobody else putting together score lines fit to brag about. Similar on the ESPADA side, it's just a team effort. We saw that burst into B, that fairly solid execute onto the A bomb site. The tactical aptitude on this second map seems just too strong for Fate to handle on this CT force, which realistically is where they put up the majority of their rounds here. CT sides of, well, a bulk of maps, and once again, here come the entries and the openings. Only one found as a retort. There's Nikki with a couple, Mar with the double peak, able to find one more. So an opening kill found, traded right back. Means with 1 minute 20 left, there are many angles to check and not many players to check them. There's Han, nicely finding one more. As Patsy has a 1v2 to do.
Han might actually spot the bomb here as well. I'm not sure if they already know that it's down. Either way, they've got a fantastic opportunity of clutching this one up. But as Han comes around this corner, he hasn't quite spotted it yet. That's going to mean Patsy comes up behind him and punishes him for it. Now a 1 versus 1. Obviously, it's going to flag up on his radar, so Patsy can pick up this C4. Try and take it to a bomb site. It's looking like he's going to go for B now. I wouldn't have been surprised if he actually wrapped back round to A and fell into the trap of Nikki there, considering it was clear a few seconds ago. Instead, yeah, going to walk straight onto this B bomb site. This is going to be a free plant for him. Quite a difficult retake for Nikki. He's going to be so late to the party that actually Patsy could be absolutely anywhere. He's got ages to get these post-plant positions.
Well, Nikki is going to be deprived of time. Obviously, no defuse kit in sight as he slides towards short. Patsy not giving away any exposure. These are thunderous footsteps trailing into this B bomb site. Patsy snaps downwards, instant headshot to finish off the half. That's a very dominant start here on Mirage for ESPADA. 9-6. It's quite the convincing lead.
That's actually quite unfortunate for Fate. They had a few rounds that came super close at the end there. Definitely could have gone either way. They do trail, though, by 3 rounds. It's 9-6 for ESPADA. Fate kicking things off on this T side as well now. This is not the best of situations for them. They've got an opportunity, of course, to take this pistol round, close this initial gap, and make this one work. But they have to make this pistol convert. 2 players with utility, 3 with the Kevlar, as they look like they're going to go for an A execute. And there's only 1 man to fend off, so this becomes very, very doable quite quickly.
This is almost playing for the retakes here. Depends how they take these smokes on the CT half. With Patrick barreling through, he wants to bombard this CT spot. That's a flishy headshot. Instantly nailing Finnegan as Dexter finds one more. Traded back again. Fate with a 1-man advantage. And what do ESPADA do? How do they respond? I think it is going to be through the double CT spawn, but without a single flashbang here, Mark can keep the angle posted. And now they have to find another shot once again. Out in the open, peculiar decision-making from Patrick. And straight on this bomb, perhaps. But no kit in sight means Han, he's going to try and close into this one. And Sotvig providing the fire absolutely necessary. Instant defuse, that's a 10th.
That's unfortunate. I know that Han doesn't know that the player on the bomb doesn't have a kit there, but I think if he has that information, he'd just go for that wide swing and try and deny that plant. Instead, tries to jiggle, kill the player next to him instead, and that doesn't work out whatsoever. Fate are going to have the cash to buy into this one off the back of that bomb plant. They're actually going to fully invest. An AK, a Galil, in fact 2 Galils, and a Mac-10 to work with. And a fairly similar investment from the CT side as well as they bomb their way to the A-bomb site.
Well, quite a barrel as they bombard this defense once more. A 2 versus 3, but low on HP. Means Fate are still going to be pressured for this retake. Blocker right through that smoke with another one. Leaves Patsy looking for all three here. Needs to take a trio of Ts with him and somehow defuse that bomb without a defuse kit. I'm sure there's one on that flurry of bodies as he tries to waltz his way over all of them, but no shots found. That's actually a one-way smoke there for Blocker. You can actually see right into the CT spawn without anybody spotting you instead. Props to Hawker for making that one like publicly viable. I don't know if many people knew about that one-way before that particular video that was recently made, but it's a powerful angle. Blocker obviously knows about it. It's very, very hard to counter. You see on that exact video as well, just how little the CTs can see, either from stairs, from CT spawn, from the bomb site. You can almost see nothing. It's such a powerful advantage and usually utilized for the actual openings and entries on this A-bomb site. Nice to see that Blocker's actually using it in the retake scenarios as well to outright win rounds. And well, not game sense, just putting those little tactics and gimmicky plays into place.
Well, last round definitely could have been an impactful one, especially considering ESPADA are on a full investment here just down to the Deagles. If they can't convert this, Fate have an opportunity to put themselves onto at least 9 before ESPADA can buy up again. We said the pistol was important, but well, what's even better than the pistol is actually losing it and then winning the second and winning the follow-ups after that as well. That's what Fate are doing right here. They could do with getting rid of these. To be honest, actually, it doesn't really make any difference. ESPADA aren't going to invest on top of what they've saved here, so best case scenario, they bring what they currently have into the next round and try and contest it again. I think that Fate won't be all too worried about that. It's not worth them going to try and hunt here, because if they then give ESPADA an AK or a Galil to work with, then they have problems on their hands. ESPADA could actually utilize that and have a lifeline going into this next round. But with what they currently have, there's not too much of a threat. Fate keep 5 players alive, which allows them to build up that bank as well, which is quite important on this T side, especially considering they're trailing by a couple of rounds. And ESPADA right now with 2k in the bank, they have to go for this eco. They can't invest anything here, otherwise they will not be able to invest into the next.
That money's still building up for Fate. It's going to be quite hard to break them for these CTs. I think they do need 2 in a row here. Still a slight opportunity with a couple of Deagles put into place. And, well, that's a one-way smoke as well. Dexter, tons of damage, even a frag onto Nikki. It does get traded right back and opens things up for the secondary Deagle. Lovely one, Dima. He's getting the damage done. And with nobody to hold things upon mid, it leaves the T's flailing and maybe even failing towards this A-bomb site. Dima, he does it again right over the top lines. He's still got to be dealt with. And the M41S might step up to task. What a headshot from Patrick. That was a pre-fire. Leaves Finnegan all alone. And they know exactly where he's playing from. Only a Deagle in hand. Look at this fire coming through. One more shot needed. And it's the conversion from Hahn to finish things off. What a wall bang. 9-10 closes this up again. This will be a rifle round from ESPADA.
That came down far too close considering ESPADA were just on a couple of Deagles and a scout there. Luckily for them, Fate just managed to turn it over the edge. And as you say, a fantastic headshot from Patrick. Thank God he pre-fired there, because as he actually peeked the corner, his head kind of got engulfed by that smoke and he wouldn't have been able to see. So swinging around, pre-firing, secures him that kill anyway. It gives Fate a lifeline to work with here. They're within 1 of tying this one up. If they do win this round, they should be able to take the lead as well. And they'd have a fantastic chance of winning this. I actually think Fate, if they take this round, they could definitely win this series. Like right here, 2-0. They're looking very good so far on their T side. If they can keep this up and actually prove that they can convert these buy rounds, then I certainly fancy their chances. Minute 10 on the clock as they head over towards B. They don't waste any time whatsoever. As soon as they're spotted, they're pushing right out onto this site, but Matsy's denying it, finds himself 2. Dimka comes in with 1 more as well. And now it's all on Hahn and Blocker, the 2 star players for this side. And now they have to convert this 3 versus 2 to level this up for their team, and Blocker's fallen early.
See here, the CT is just giving Hahn absolutely nothing to work with. 0 peaks thus far. Even from short, just watching him waiting. It's the head glitch angle to finish things through. Lovely crossfire on that B bomb site. And Fate just didn't move into that B site as an entry pack. Very isolated. It wasn't even the nades to do the trick. Instead, just a little bit of a lapse of coordination, I think, out of B. You really have to get all 4 rifles onto that B site incredibly quickly in those rush scenarios, knowing that on Mirage especially, those rotates are going to be coming through incredibly quickly. This time, it's actually a fairly full eco. Only a couple of deagles, bits of Kevlar thrown into the mix. Fate want to save this time, just this half buy, so they can get rifles in hand for the next. This is a dangerous tactic to tread. They almost had enough to get out a couple of Galils and such here, but there's the opener. Now, they might be kicking themselves for not having a couple of additional rifles in hand. I'm not too sure.
And initially I was quite confused as to why Nicky found that opening pick, got into window, and then gave up that position. That's quite a lot of control to take, and actually having a player in window as well means that the CTs have to be very, very cautious. It applies a lot of pressure on the defense, but him falling right back is perfect. I like this. They've now regrouped. They're all heading over towards B. They know that they have to play the safety in numbers. They're only down to the pistols. They've only got 1 M4 to work with, and whilst it's very, very messy, they managed to convert it. A 2 versus 2 now as they get onto this bomb site. The numbers are going to go in, and the bomb goes down. Both of these players with Kevlar and the rifles, but only 50 HP on each. One of them's been spotted out. Blocker's been Molotov as well. And ESPADA play that retake situation absolutely perfectly.
And just knowing how to retake the B site like the back of their hand right there. ESPADA, it's just perfect utility usage, which pretty much guarantees that 2 versus 2 clutch. Puts them onto 12 here. Maybe a round they were expecting to take, but definitely got dodgy considering Fate. They found a couple of early kills, especially that control into window rooms, slowing away those rotates. Fate, they're down by 3 rounds here. This is a pretty much must win here in round number 22. Otherwise, I think we are going to a 3rd map here. Fate haven't shown us all too much on this T side, but short on rounds. This is their opportunity to get back into the mix, especially considering ESPADA don't have too much money to work with at this point. Lots of time on the clock for both squads, though.
An opportunity indeed for Fate to capitalize on. The positioning right now, so far very passive. Not even going for this control over towards mid, and that might be their downfall as ESPADA push right up with that flash, but Nicky somehow converts the kill, even while full blind. Dima in that scenario just not only whiffs, but actually it's this common scenario where you peek into an angle with a flashbang, and you see 3 guys that are all blinded, and it just comes down to target selection. It's the discipline of saying, right, I know I'm not going to be able to kill all 3 of these guys. I'm going to try and kill this one, and then I'm going to fall off of it. As soon as you're faced in with 3, you start to panic, gets a little bit hasty, and you get punished for it. Finnegan deals a little bit of damage here onto Nicky, but in the meantime, well, it very much looks like they're just going to steamroll onto this site. As these smokes go up, they'll probably be able to get this bomb down as well. This is looking like a good round for Fate so far.
They're actually deprived of smoke grenades here, and I'm surprised they get that bomb down in a way. Patrick was all the way in the open, and nobody goes for the swing on ESPADA. Now an opportunity in the retake. 3 versus 4. The kills are coming through, and that's a perfect, flawless flash. Finnegan does nail another, expecting the flank upon mid, but it's not coming through. Sotvig might just have to backtrack with the retrieved AK. That is going to be double digits for Fate, keeping us even here on Mirage, but is it realistically even, Jay? They're down on money. I guess Fate should be able to find another in the next. ESPADA, though, have been fairly consistent with these pistols. If not outright winning the rounds, at least doing a bit of damage, 2-3 kills to keep the money. Pretty honest. They'll have to invest into 2 sets of rifles here, Fate. Whereas ESPADA, I don't think they're going to invest into anything at all. Team is so low on money, though. He's actually not going to have a buy in the next either. So I guess he force buys. What does the rest of this squad do? Oh, this is a full force. The option for this was definitely open, and this is CISCS at its best.
Well, if this doesn't work out for ESPADA, Fate will be able to level things out before the buy comes in again, depending on how they do so as well. Might actually mean that their economy will be racked up. This potentially gives Fate an opportunity back into this game. And right now they're showing that they're not ready for Dust 2 yet. They still want to be playing on Mirage. Sotfik does find that opener. That's a little bit over-aggressive from Blocker to just try and walk in there with no support. The secondary player pushes in. He's going to be able to take that window control for now. Dexter just around this corner, not making any noise.
Dexter absolutely doesn't know that Nicky's in this very advanced angle. You can see the swing coming through. Not the gun barrel spotted yet, but I'm sure that Dexter's got no idea about this one. When's the window swing going to actually come through? And there's the kill. Dexter caught completely with his pants down. That's the primary investment gone. The AK-47 hits the deck. Sotfik also giving away his position. Fate should know to circumnavigate this A-bomb site right now. There is the primary weapon at the ready. And here comes the shut away. Sotfik, he might have just got the job done. 2 quick kills. Here comes the MP9. Finnegan gets handed a smattering of damage. The nade doesn't take care of him. And now the MP9 can come alive on the A-bomb site. What an awful round from Fate. The mistake made into window from Nicky in the initial couple of seconds, doesn't find that first kill, just getting isolated by the AK-47, stubborn and they don't backtrack. A tactical timeout, very good time for it. That was a big mistake, Jay.
It absolutely was. They allowed Sotfik far too much equity in that round. Obviously the only man with an AK. He just went absolutely huge. And then at the end there as well, it was quite unfortunate in that final situation. They take down that side player super low. They whiff the nade a little bit. Or in fact, I think they actually just pre-throw the nade to where they think he's going to run. Guess wrong, and it throws it away.
It's sad. It's sad. That's literally Fate's worst round of the whole week right there. Just absolute blunder into window. There's no reason to peek when you know that the economy is fairly low. Pretty much every single team in CS has a pretty good read on what your opponent's eco. Maybe they misread it. Maybe they thought that that was a full buy, but nevertheless, are you assuming that ESPADA aren't going to have any window control whatsoever? That boost, especially with the bench making it more viable for the T side, is almost always spotted out by a CT. You've always got somebody into jungle / window, and Fate get completely blistered in the 23rd.
They've invested everything they can to try and pull this one back. The issue is that's not a whole lot, and if they lose it, they really have no chance back into this one. Fate, their backs are against the wall. They absolutely have to convert this round. If they're able to do so, as I say, there's a lifeline for them to come back into this one, especially considering the bank of ESPADA isn't too great. They'll probably force back up, but it won't be anything amazing. Fate lose this one, though, it's probably all over. They're playing this one incredibly slow. 50 seconds now on the clock. Fate really haven't made their move. They've just kind of taken some fairly aggressive standpoints. They're holding it super passive. Not making their position known whatsoever. These 2 players in the apartments. To be the different makers. Sotfik spots out the mid players. He's able to convert 1 kill, but the trade comes through. A 4 versus 4. Not anymore. Finnegan closes it out, and now a 4-on-2.
This certainly looks like a final map here for ESPADA. Maybe even taking us to Dust 2 right now. The Deagle falling on deaf ears in terms of damage, and there's the rifles just to try and close him out. It's Dexter instead with the USPS to find that final pickup. 14-10. It feels like Fate are going to get deprived of that 2-0, especially considering their money is absolutely, it's been bulldozed, Jay. It's been knocked over. It's just a pile of rubble at this point. Well, 14-10. Quite a powerful position for ESPADA. They can close this out against another force buy. Fate obviously not wanting to play with a 5-round deficit here. I can't say that this is the decision that'll cost them. I think that is come and gone at this point. I think losing the anti-eco against ESPADA was probably the gravedigger.
That was a really, really rough round for them to lose. I talked about it in the round itself. If they convert that, they have a very good opportunity to take it 12-12. By losing it, they effectively just throw it away. Dexter's allowed far too much in this round again. The Pistols do chime through and actually do a fair bit of damage. They're unable to finish him off, though, and he's able to find a third. Dima coming in from top mid, saves his teammate's life. And somehow, Dexter, yet again, is allowed to just wreak havoc. Might even find this final kill onto Mar. Not going to hit the shot, but he's going to fall in due time anyway. Finnegan converts it. ESPADA put their 15th on the board. And Fate, well, they trail by 5. They're just going to have to force up into this one as well. I don't see a whole lot of hope for them, and I don't think they will either.
That's actually a really unfortunate round for Fate as well. They have Dexter absolutely dead to rights in the connector. Just caught in reload is Han right there, just running out of bullets with that Deagle after finding quite a sensational first pickup. He should have almost guaranteed a double there, and unfortunately, it's just not his fault. Running out of that ammunition when it really mattered the most. Sotfig as well, just picking up the pieces from behind. Really powerful crossfires upon the middle of the map for ESPADA. And now they've got 5 map points before we'll potentially go to Dust 2, which seems to be almost guaranteed right now. This is a good setup from ESPADA to try and finish. Finnegan, will he get spotted here? There's the drop over. Quick shot. There's the conversion. And these T's are going to get crumpled and crushed one final time. Mars got no chance as he escalates in from the underpass. It's 16-10 to finish off this second map of the day. And all things considered, a very convincing performance from ESPADA. They just looked almost unstoppable on that second map there.
They absolutely did, especially in the closing rounds of it. They really didn't look anything too special earlier on in the match, and especially when he kept it really close, they brought it back to that sort of, I don't think it was exactly 10-10, but sort of within sort of 2 or 3 rounds. I thought this could definitely go the full distance, and we could find this one going to a full 30 rounds, maybe even overtime, with Fate taking it 2-0. Instead, they just let it slip away. ESPADA just seemed to steamroll in those final 6 rounds. Take it over the top, and yeah, we're going over to Dust 2, which I think should be a really exciting map because both teams are actually super confident on it. Like, what we've seen so far is actually just each team dominating each other on their own map pick. And yeah, now the third map, it's the proper decider. It's really game time. Best man will win it.
I totally agree. I think this is time to maybe go back to the drawing board for 5 to 10 minutes for Fate, take this break and maybe discuss that last map. Maybe not in too much depth, considering they are going to their secondary home map next in the form of Dust 2. They weren't able to take it against Galaxy Racer yesterday, but there's a lot of chatter saying that they probably should have. They took the majority of those opening rounds. I think they were 8-1 up at one point and just unable to close out on that CT side, and then not really getting the job done on the T side either. Very close map as well to finish things off yesterday. There is an opportunity to bring this one back for them. Losing that second map, that's what we anticipated going into that series. So realistically, don't be too hard on yourselves. Yes, a couple of key crucial mistakes are made. Let's tighten that up for this third and final map, which is coming up right after this break.
Lock and load. Wow, very good. Let me show you how it is done. Yeah, no. Woo, damn! That was one of the best tickle fights I've been to.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. You're watching the Eden Arena Malta Vibes. We're here with Week 8, and it's all fired up in this final map between Fate and ESPADA. Yes, you heard me right. It has gone to a third map here today between these two teams. And realistically, just ESPADA doing a great job on Mirage of closing that one out nice and early. Two pretty convincing maps, all things considered. And now we go to maybe a handshake in the middle in the form of Dust 2. Of course, both of these teams fairly confident on this final map. I think Fate more than most. They've got a pro 60% win rate on it. We've seen them play it all throughout these tournaments over a number of weeks, and they seem pretty damn consistent, Jay.
They absolutely do. This series could not be closer. Both teams taking each other's map picks, but then going on to a map like Dust 2, as you say, both teams have a very, very similar win rate on across a very similar amount of games against a very similar caliber as well. So when you look at their recent matchups, actually, Fate taking this map a hell of a lot of the time, especially in their recent matches. In the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games they've played, they've actually taken a very large share of that. 6 of those matches against some very strong teams as well. So very, very strong on Dust 2. But the same goes for ESPADA. They've been playing it a lot in these recent qualifiers, in these recent cups they've been playing in, and they've taken a lot of wins on this map. So going into it, both teams are going to be fired up off the back of their map wins. I think ESPADA might be a little bit more fired up just off of the back of that performance on Mirage, but Fate have shown previously that they're very mentally resilient, and they've also shown that actually they gave ESPADA a run for their money on Mirage. It wasn't just a complete whitewash. So coming out of it, I think they'll probably say, yeah, that wasn't a terrible performance. We definitely need to work on our Mirage, but that's something that we kind of know anyway. Let's go into this third map. It's one of our home maps, and let's just take it home. And I think that Fate have got a good chance of doing so.
Yeah, I think that knowing that that was obviously ESPADA's pick, they can kind of write that one off as, right, we were supposed to lose that. We have lost it. Let's put it behind us and go into Dust 2 with our heads held up high, knowing that we're confident on this map. I know that Fate especially consider Dust 2 as that second home map, almost competing as the home map with Train. I don't think it's quite there yet. We saw Galaxy Racer take them on Dust 2 yesterday, but that's Galaxy Racer. We're here in a different series, and we are here in this series in the form of the knife round. Let's get into it. Third and final map. Of course, we play a knife on all 3 maps here, and I think Fate have actually won all of them thus far. And coming into this third, I don't think they'll mind if it's this teal CT side to start. Obviously, it's preferential if you get onto that defensive half to begin things. And it will be, by the looks of things.
Actually, surprisingly, it's Fate that quite heavily prefer their CT side on this map. The other way round goes for ESPADA. So just in terms of historically, when these teams have played this map, Fate tend to take the lion's share of their rounds on this CT side. So kicking things off here might just allow them to take a 9-6, maybe a 10-5 half, and that might just tip it over the edge for them. But it shouldn't really matter all too much.
I do think that was the issue for Fate yesterday against Galaxy Racer. Of course, that CT side just wasn't quite strong enough. They took that 7-1 start. As of then, it was pretty much just a flurry of T-sided rounds, just letting it slip. And once you get that advantage in Counter-Strike, you have to hold on to it. Otherwise, you let your opponents right back into the game, and you've got to roll that scoreline once again. They were unable to do so yesterday. Let's see what they do against ESPADA. Starting with this pistol. All lots of Kevlar here. The single kit on Nikki. Double flash as well. Pretty standard stuff. Double smoke opens up the opportunity to go towards A long. And look at those odds actually slightly favoring ESPADA in this one. I feel like this could be even closer in my mind. Let's see how this T side looks, though. I think this is going to be the deciding half realistically. I think whoever takes the lead will have a big advantage going on to the second side. I mean, if ESPADA can take 7, 8, 9, anything in that sort of realm, then this definitely becomes doable. Funnily enough, the shadow spotted on that A bomb site. Han has a bit of information, and here comes the backtrack and the wraparound. Dima already doing the damage towards lower dark, and Han's here all on his lonesome.
Well, the rotations are slowly but surely coming through on short. They seem to be quite preoccupied. A fantastic shot from Han, leveling out these numbers. Blocker is on 3 HP though, and this retake's coming in quite slowly. They do come through CT. The boost comes up. The headshot's found. Not quite in time to deny the plant, but it's found nonetheless. Dexter finds himself one back. Brings things back into a 3-on-3. Make that a 3-on-2 as he finds another, and Softic, well, as Blocker falls, that might just be it. Nicky in a 2 versus 1. He showed up massively on the first map of Train. Went to sleep a little bit on Mirage, and he's not the man to clutch up the pistol on Dust 2 either. ESPADA take it 1-0. And Fate, despite a valiant attempt on that A site, just can't quite convert the retake.
You'd think that as an AWPer, you'd be good with those pistols, and Dexter proving just everybody right with that. Big triple kill to get things started. Obviously trusting him with the P250 to get the job done, and he absolutely does. 1-0 for ESPADA before we get into the mix of this action. A couple of scouts in hand. This is a full force for Fate. The flashes are perfect. There's the conversion, and forced back to this pointy letter for the defensive side.
It's gone the full distance, Squid. We're in the third map. It's the third map of the day, but I feel like the ESPADA Crazy series earlier just wasn't as close as this one. These teams seem inseparable right now. A fantastic headshot coming in from that Krieg on long. He's going to wipe out another player on this A bomb site. That Mac-10 spotting out Patrick on that scout as well. Not going to push him for now. They've got a 2-man advantage. They don't need to throw this one away. There's actually quite a large HP deficit, and they have to be wary of it. Mar with this Deagle could definitely finish off one of these low HP players, and Han could certainly do the same with that scout. The flash comes in. Dima's going to push through with that Mac-10, but Patrick's there to support, and these scouts can now do so much damage. All of these players are low, but they find the frags nonetheless, and it leaves it all down to Mar in a 1-on-3.
That is so awkward there, trying to challenge the double snipers upon the middle of the map, and it almost falls apart. This is almost doable for Mar. If he can find a quick shot onto Dexter, perhaps, then it is entirely doable, especially with the Mac-10 in hand. I don't know if it would have been called that these players are incredibly low. Instead, is he saving this scout? With a bomb down on the B bomb site, it kind of makes sense. And well, he'll just be falling into the T-spawn to try and steal away some exits. See where ESPADA decide to save. I don't think he's going to be challenged here from this specific position. Just hiding away, playing just that safe space in the T-spawn, knowing that ESPADA are obviously not going to be going for a hunt with this lack of HP. I would have loved to see some exits attempted here. I don't know what Mar's necessarily going to do with a single Galil in what otherwise would be a full eco round. But now 3 survive. This is pretty much max EV for ESPADA there in the second. And they go through building that cash with an opportunity to grow even more in this third.
Well, considering the damage that Fate dealt, I thought that was very doable. Then it kind of comes into that 3v1 scenario. They get the bomb down on B. Okay, yeah, then that's definitely ESPADA's round secured. But with all of those players so low, Fate certainly could have done some damage there and kept their economy at bay. Instead, they allow all 3 to survive. This is a bonus round for them. They're not going to reinvest whatsoever, and they're going to use this opportunity to rack up a whole load of cash. They've guessed correctly. They've pushed out of long. That's where Fate are just completely uncontested. They're not giving up anything. They've gone all around the rest of the map. They're letting them have long. Blockers push right up short. Might be able to find Dima on this cross. Dima seems to be aware that there could be someone pushed up short. Of course, they've given up the full control, and he is able to convert it. 2 free kills for them, and they'll just be able to mop the floor with these CTs now. This Galil not really going to be able to do a whole lot. He might actually find 1 kill. That's going to be about it. ESPADA put their 3rd down on the board. They're looking really strong right now. Dima actually picking up a 3k in that one.
Yeah, easy clutch for him there. Not even really a clutch, just the clearance. 3-0, knowing that there's a CT pushing towards the top of mid and an eco round like that really isn't the surprise of the century for Dima. It's going to instantly sweep Blocker out of the server and then just convert onto the last two. Nice little capitalization here, allows the economy to grow once again. And while Finnegan is getting the short end of the stick, he's died twice. Nevertheless, everybody else allowing that economy to blister out of control. Nice anti-flashes for Fate is going to eliminate Patsy.
That man advantage might just be what Fate needs to convert this buy round. Of course, the AWP on Harn, something they haven't been able to pull out so far this game. Nicky with this M4 spots out the first in the form of Dima. The nade rains over, not actually going to do any damage whatsoever. And now the info's there, the Molotov comes through. They're not actually going to put the smoke on it, instead just run straight through. Dima wants to find this frag and he's not able to do so. Actually burns in his own Molotov. That's absolutely tragic. And it's picked up by Mar as he finds himself those final two frags. Should be able to retrieve an AK there as well. Actually spoiled for choice and he's unable to do so. Could have even gone for an AWP and played the double setup. That's so unfortunate.
Dexter's putting in a lot of the work, but just doesn't pan out in his favor right there. Nice first for Fate, but of course a very damaging round right there. Means fairly full reinvestments with the exception of Blocker, and that's not going to help matters. Dexter right through that smoke. That's going to isolate the B rush. That Molotov is incredibly important. Is where is the smoke grenade from ESPADA if they're going to rush this site? Needs to come through now. Obviously not as telegraphed. And where's the second incendiary from Nicky? He needed to throw it right there. This gives away the whole of this B bomb site. Bit of a blunder as he's forced off through the radio. Needs to call in for reinforcements. Another headshot nailed, but no secondary frag. As ESPADA are going to convert and convert, finding all of these kills. The bomb plant will come shortly after. There should be a fourth guaranteed for the T's.
This is actually really poorly played by Fate. ESPADA, they made a little bit of a mistake coming into this one where they took their time to get into B. They should have known it was clear after getting that initial pick. And yeah, they just didn't quite use their utility. They spent some time getting into it, and it definitely kept in contention for Nicky to try and find himself a kill there and work his way back in. But quite frankly, they completely gave up. The hardest site to retake in pretty much the entire game. Nicky misused that Molotov horribly. He could have used it early on to deny the push and actually allow the rotations. He could have fallen back and used that Molotov to try and deny the bomb plant. Instead, he kind of just blasé threw it into the site and it didn't do a whole lot. Massive waste of a $600 investment and a potential round win that they could have taken. ESPADA put another back on the board, bounced right back off of Fate. And Fate, I don't know whether they invest into this one. For now, it's not looking like they're going to.
They do, surely.
They do here, yeah. I would have thought so too. They can't convert it though. That's a massive lead for ESPADA to take early on.
Yeah, backs up against the wall, especially with the AWP kicked through. And, well, the flashes actually work out for Nicky for not just one, but two. Sopvig Dima burn alive, roasted and toasted. And that isn't cold toast like we were talking about earlier, Jay. That is very much some heated action. 90 seconds. And realistically, a round that Fate should be taking, especially with Dexter very exposed to the upper B tons. Nobody really to help him out here. And that's a perfect angle. Patrick does get spotted, able to backtrack, but lots of damage in the process. Finnegan cannot convert. And now a stalemate in the 1 versus 4. He's being locked out.
Well, I'm watching the kill feed there whilst... In fact, I'm not watching the kill feed there whilst we're watching Finnegan. And I'm thinking, oh, he's got a chance here. Then I look up and realise that all of his teammates are dead. He's left in a 1 versus 4. There are 2 low HP players, so like it is somewhat doable, but I don't really fancy his chances here. He's got the bomb on his back. That's somewhat of a lifeline. If he gets this kill in top mid, he could maybe get a bomb plant on A, but he has to cross through these doors where Han's holding it with the AWP. An AWPer that very, very rarely misses a shot. And he's got 2 other CTs that he has absolutely no information on where they're playing. 25 seconds on the clock. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes for a save here. He's not found himself anything as of yet. And the smoke's actually going to come through. Is he going to go for this plant? He just about has time to if he wants it.
No way. There's no way this bomb is going down on the B-bomb site. It's held lock and key. He's just going to backtrack with the AWP.
Oh, quite ballsy at the end there. Just try and go for that pick. Try and poke a hole in that B defense. See if there's anyone there. If there's no one home, maybe he pushes in and goes for that plant. As soon as he spots that player, though, I think he just backtracks, saves that up. And Dexter. Wow, he actually connects a shot through that door, deals tons of damage onto Patrick. And ESPADA looking like they want to try B again. But as soon as they get Molotov, they just stop. You see 3 players barreling towards the B tunnels. The Molotov comes in. No smoke goes on it, and they just stop. That's it. They just say, oh, okay, maybe we don't go for this then. Quite frankly, Fate are either going to molly or smoke it every single round, and if you don't want to go through it, then there's no B rush on the cards for you.
Well, ESPADA are up in rounds as of this point. As we said before, their T side is usually what lets them down for Fate. So realistically, I think they need a big CT half, albeit ESPADA's CT side usually lets them down. So a bit of a coin flip going into this third and final map. And now the M4A1S trying to chip in for some damage. They do have a crossfire place, but both of these players very low on HP. This is where the peak has to come through, and Patsy able to find not just 1 but 2. Blocker tries to file through that smoke, and it's just not happening. This bomb can go down, an impossible retake in the 2 versus 4, even with Dexter down to half HP, Patsy on 13, and Bob Suffolk already knows this. He's hunting for these rifles. There's the first, and Han might be next in line. He gets spotted, gives away all of the information, gives away the ghost as to where he's playing from and that he is going for a save in the first place. You have to get that information to start. And ESPADA, they don't have tons of cash just to throw at this AWP. And considering it is just Han surviving, maybe just give him this AWP, allow him to carry it through to the next. Realistically, Fate haven't been winning too many rounds anyway. Maybe it's not too much of a threat and even prompts them to go for some ill-advised force buy. I'd love to see a full save here. Han can just drop a couple of deagles over, give his teammates something to work with. He can go down to $4,500. What's that? 3 or 4 deags, probably. This buy wouldn't look so terrible, but force buy here would be a big mistake. That's the second tactical timeout of the half for Fate. I think it's going to take more than a tactical to turn the tide here. It's going to take big firepower. It's going to take Han showing up. Remember, he found over 35 frags on Dust 2 alone just a couple of days ago in this single map. I think Fate do heavily rely on him, especially on this CT side where we routinely see him pick up, well, very rarely pick up sub 25 kills. 2 to 5.
Well, we've talked about Fate heavily favouring this CT side. Obviously, it's only 5 to 2, but ESPADA should be able to convert this one, and if they do, it goes 6 to 2. Then it's this issue of if they can string together a few more rounds, then they actually have a really, really good T half. Few players slacking on this Fate side. Blocker yet to find a kill. If he falls this round without finding one, he's James Bonding at 007. This is not looking all too good for Fate right now. Han on this AWP. If he could, like, either do loads of damage with it this round, maybe there's a chance. If he can't do loads of damage with it, maybe there's an opportunity for him to carry it into the next round. Just jumping in to talk about OKs real quick. Code Malta V15, 15% refill bonus. Make sure you go and check that one out. For now, it's looking like Fate are going to stack up over towards this A site. And sooner rather than later, they're going to be meeting the Angry Tees on ESPADA to try and swipe this site away from them.
There are the smokes and incredibly close to this cross to give minimal information to these CTs. Nevertheless, a stack, and it gets completely thwarted by the AKs. Quick shots, there's all 5 ripped away. Finnegan putting up most of the heavy lifting there to put ESPADA on 6 and shutting Fate down to just the 2. This buy's not going to be ideal, I guess. Yes, Han, he gets out the AWP. Very strapped for cash in the next. Not ideal blocker, Patrick, without the Molotovs. Han's not going to have that. And there's only one incendiary on this whole CT side. A map like Dust 2, you realistically need a lot of those fire bombs, especially towards long, that B bomb site, where that chamber's very easily taken without the incendiaries thrown through. I love this stack from Han. Just boosting over to look into lower tons. This often merits a frag. Finnegan needs to not step out of line, otherwise he's going to go instantly down. A lot of the time a T side will actually throw a flashbang before peeking this, and Demon does have one in hand in upper tons. I wonder if Finnegan is going to wait for this man to go for the swing on through, and Han does dismount, so no opportunity for an opening.
Fate, they're playing quite stacked up earlier on in this round. Desperately trying to go for that initial pick, and by actually kind of putting all their eggs in one basket and not finding it, it means that they give up a fair amount of control elsewhere. Luckily for them, ESPADA haven't capitalized on it. Instead, all just stacked up in mid. 40 seconds on the clock, they look to take some control. Blocker on this angle, the flash comes through. You think he'd swing out and find at least one frag, but he gets his head ripped off instead. Yet to find a kill or an assist still. And the boost comes through onto the site for this AWP to try and hold on to long. Instead changes his mind and goes for the peak. That might be his detriment, doesn't quite peak wide enough. But all 3 players stacked up into CT. A fantastic shot from Han, but it's not going to be enough. The T's fly through from long, and they get completely shut down. Another clean sweep from ESPADA, and Patrick just left with this M4. Best he can do here is some damage. Maybe he can save, or I don't think that's really on the cards. Nothing's on the cards at all. Finnegan finishes him off. ESPADA put their 7th on the board. They're looking like the much better side here on Dust 2.
Blocker is supposed to be the star player for Fate, and he's creating more secret agents, just new ones of his own. 008. I remember that from the movies, but you know, he surpassed that good old James Bond that we love to see. And Fate almost as much of a negative scoreline here. That's going to be a tag to add insult to injury. I'm sure a fair bit of information given and granted away. They are walking into the USPSs. This is somewhat of a stack, and they also have the HEs to go with this one. Sparta might come out of this very heavily damaged. There go all of the nades. Sophic gets massively tagged. 2 kills with it. This is an opportunity for Fate as they do grab hold of the rifles. And is this a way back into this first half, perhaps? 2 AKs block a full HP with the Kevlar. And now Sophic has to go for this cross. Blocker does rattle away a lot of bullets, but takes more damage than he deals. And this now becomes messy once again. Those players with AKs, but this has to be flawless. Blocker, his first kill of the game, and it's a sensational one. Sophic ripped out of his place, executed on the cross. And now with a minute remaining, where is Mar off to? The Globetrotter through the T spawn. Looks like Blocker might peek into this one. A missed flick and a whiffed opportunity. As Blocker forced off the angle once again. And through the T spawn once more. Patsy needs to catch Blocker on the cross. This is a key kill, which he does find. With Dexter, does he get the thank yous here? You'll see him turn if he actually hears this one. And oh, there it is. Does spot Mar out towards long. They know exactly where this one's coming from. The game is completely given away. And he actually made a couple of thank yous as well to just let Mar know, hey, watch your back, folks. This is going to be an 8th.
Well, Mar goes for the right call here. Knows that his position might be compromised and therefore falls right back. He's going to save that AK into the next, but it allows ESPADA to put an 8th on the board, and that can be oh so dangerous. Already securing this half, anything they take on top of this is just a bonus, and with another 5 rounds to play with, I think they'll be looking to take a whole lot more.
This is very, very one-sided. We know that ESPADA are fairly good on this T side, but this is out of this world to get things off to a really lightning-fast beginning here on Dust 2. Remember, it's the 3rd and final map of the day. No going back for Fate if they lose this one. And imagine just losing out on getting to 2 playoff tournaments in back-to-back days in the 3rd and final map, both on Dust 2. I think at that point, I guess they played so many series, so many maps. They were telling us themselves they've played over 120 maps in the last 2 months. Like, maybe a bit of a relief to get a couple of days off. Maybe they just have to go back to the drawing boards, have a couple of days just lying down. How much sleep do you realistically get when you're playing 120 officials? I mean, I've probably cast, I guess, a similar amount. I could tell you I don't get much sleep. So these guys must be running on empty. And this series maybe even proving it. I think that burnout does become a thing, but realistically, maybe ESPADA, K23, 2 of the teams that they have lost against, are just really, really good teams. Teams that we haven't seen as much in these tournaments. Like, me and you, Jay, I think we've casted Fate in 5 best of 3s in the last week. It's been a lot of Counter-Strike, and realistically, that does take its toll at some point. This time they might have an opportunity in the 5 versus 4.
Dexter does spot out the player. Nicky's able to convert himself 1. If this second kill comes through on the site, it will all be over. And Patrick, well, he doesn't want to peek because he knows that it will be taken out, but instead he just burns in the flames, which isn't really a great alternative. Mar actually finds one straight through that smoke. With those doors being flipped, it gives you an opportunity to deny their entry. They might have an opportunity here, but despite the man advantage, this is the B site, of course, and that flash raining over. Sophic going for an ill-advised peek. Might just cost this for them. A 3 versus 1 now for Dexter to clutch up. The time is beeping away, and, well, Blocker's going to make easy work of him. Fate actually managed to convert this one with relative ease, keeping all 3 of those players alive and retaining that AWP going into, well, round number 12.
That was such just a sickening Molotov on the B bomb site there. I really do wonder what happened to Patrick. Maybe he got fully flashed. Maybe we can even see it again, because those openings came through incredibly quickly. In a 3 versus 5, you're not usually expecting to go down so quickly there, but 8-3 on the board. Patrick just sits away in the flames. And ESPADA, they have a Bulgarian barbecue on the B bomb site. Unable to take the round. It's going to be close, though, with a tight-knit economy. Let's see what ESPADA do as a response. Maybe something a little bit faster against the 4-set defense on the A bomb site. This could be a real problem maker if ESPADA decide to go towards this side of the map. And, well, there's the peek through. It's not going to pay dividends, so maybe just backing up for Finnegan's the best bet.
Well, Nicky, he's going to be smoked off. It isolates Patrick with a grenade and the flash going through. Nicky's actually going to charge in and try and support his teammate. It isn't going to quite work out, but Patrick, he falls anyway. That's going to completely open up this B site. ESPADA have had a lot of luck on this side of the map. Maybe not luck. I don't think luck comes into this one at all. They've had a lot of success over on this side of the map. And Fate, I don't think they go for this one this time round. They have nowhere near as much equity in this one. Just a flash and a smoke to work with and far more to lose.
You know what, Jay? If you want to be politically correct, you say that ESPADA has had a lot of success and Fate haven't had a lot of luck.
Yeah, go on. That one. We'll call it that. Fate have just been struggling to hold on to this portion of the map. I think it comes down to the fact they have very little mid control, and it means that ESPADA can get this pincer in very, very easily. And as soon as someone comes through the mid doors, one of those B players then has to focus on it, and they end up getting pinced in the back. That's exactly what happened to Patrick that round. As soon as his teammate fell from that B split, he then had to look at double doors to support his teammate and got completely cut off from the tunnels.
I mean, if we're really going for this here, instead of stressing out checkers and chess analogies, because I feel like that's been done to Earth's End and beyond, Fate are playing snakes and ladders. They're rolling a 1 every single time. They finally roll a 6, and there's a snake there. That's the analogy that I'm going to go for, and I bet that will catch on, Jay.
Snakes and ladders analogy. I like it. It kind of makes sense. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I like that.
I'll say it makes more sense than the majority of my other analogies, which, like toast analogies, didn't really work out earlier. Probably nobody got that one. I did a George Clemenceau analogy the other day, which obviously nobody understood.
Yeah, I remember that one. Wasn't that guy from like the 20s or something?
Yeah, he was the French president, right? The late 1910s.
Yeah, no one knows who that is.
If you did GCSE history, sometimes depends. If you did like World War I and World War II, sometimes you know. This is the sticker bug that I was talking about earlier, Jay. That they just nobody can find a solution to. Get the gun back out, Patrick. Come on, where's the sticker gone? It vanished. Come on, get your gun back out. Let's see it. Name and shame. Name and shame. He actually just drops the gun just to rub it in.
He doesn't want
Come on, somebody from Valve is definitely not watching me cast right now, but if they are, please, that's the one bug that gets to me. It strikes me at the core, Jay. Hear it, strikes me.
And also, if you are there, if you need anyone for a major or something, then me and Squid,
just
we're
hire
available
me.
to hire for that.
Not Jay, but
oh, toxic, bro.
Either way, nades rolling on through. Nice initial bit of damage onto Dexter. The utility has been letting Fate down as of late, especially towards that B bomb site where realistically they haven't been doing a lot of damage. Those Molotovs have been mistimed. I'm Patrick with a nice trade.
A 4 versus 4 early on. ESPADA shouldn't be too phased by it. The only real issue is they're just rinse and repeating the same thing. And whilst it's been working out for them, Fate are finally starting to counter it. Look at this, blocker. Oh my, as soon as this smoke starts to dissipate, this is going to be a free double kill for him, possibly even a third on Finnegan. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's spraying away for the 4th, but single-handedly he's put this round to bed. They've had such little success over here on the B bomb site at holding it up, and he said, you know what, I'm going to come down to B. I'm going to hold this one myself. Molotov not going to quite be released. There we go. It does force out blocker. The spam's going to come through. He seems to be able to get himself in this little corner where he's not affected by it. And Patsy Rossi's dealt tons of damage, hasn't actually found himself a kill, and he's not expecting blocker in this left corner either. Nonetheless, gets taken out by Hahn, and Fate put their 5th on the board. If they can convert this final round, then this won't be a terrible half for them.
Yeah, this is actually quite a decent recovery from Fate. Getting from down in the dumps to almost evening it up. I guess their T side has to be spectacular here if they are going to bring this back. But a pistol round would firmly bring them into contention, would maybe even close the scoreline up 9-9, and then it's all to play for on that second side. ESPADA, without much to work with in this 15th and final of the half, should prevent them from getting to 10, but you never know what Sotvik especially is capable of. He's been slamming in shots with his scout since the start of this series. And once again, just prying onto mid. He'll be the man looking for these opening headshots. And he's also got a couple of P250s and Deagles around him. A pretty assorted buy from ESPADA. And they'll just challenge Nikki to get things fired up. That's a perfect flash. There's the response. Demon's going to open things up, leaving just Patrick isolated on this B-bomb site. He's got T's everywhere, and he's going to go down. This has to be the retake opportunity from Fate. As the bomb gets sealed, how are they going to get back into this one?
Great difficulty by the looks of things. I think they might not even go for this. Right now, they're looking for some kind of pick. If ESPADA offer it... Oh, no, they have to go for this. This is the last round of the half. What on earth am I on about? They're hoping for some kind of pick from ESPADA, but it's not being given to them. A fantastic boost from Patsy. He's actually going to take out Han, but a 5 versus 2 now. They have to walk through the door, and they walk straight into the blender. Dima's actually the one to find both the final kills. And ESPADA managed to convert that final 15th round 10-5. That is a very dominant T-half. If they can take this pistol and they show that they can play this CT side of Dust 2, then they have a very, very good chance of closing out this series.
And that is the question mark, isn't it, coming into this one? ESPADA with some weak and wobbly results on this counter-terrorist side. Let's see if they can put another win to their name, push their win rate up to 2/3. They've amassed quite a few wins on this particular map as of late. Amiga, Windstrike, Singularity, Apex, Galaxy Racer, and Aves all in a row, all pretty convincing as well, with the exception of one overtime bout versus Galaxy Racer. CT win percentage not as sturdy, but averaging between 7 and 8 rounds. I guess averaging 8 rounds per CT side. That would be more than enough here against Fate. And I think the big difference maker here is Fate classically haven't had a great T side on this particular map. They usually get the job done on that CT half. When you look at the stats, we'll dig into them again. 47% T round rate, whereas it's 58% on that CT side. So very, very one-sided here. They certainly didn't win 58% of these CT rounds, only taking 5. If my maths isn't too rusty, that's 33%, Jay. So these numbers are going to slip down into the doldrums after this series is over. HLTV will claim another victim.
These key players really, really not showing up for Fate on this map, and that's really my issue. If Blocker can step up on this second half, which we have seen previously, he'll have a weak first half, and then he'll come into the second, he'll feel quite refreshed, and you see him fragging out, especially on that T side where there is potential for him to make some of these solo plays, then I think Fate have got a fantastic chance. If Han is a little bit more consistent with his AWP, then I think Fate have got a fantastic chance. If they continue the way that they currently are, I think they're certainly going to struggle. 5 rounds needed to close this one up, and well, the odds from our partners over at LootBet,
holy moly,
certainly not fancying Fate's chances.
No, I don't think anybody is right now. This has to be a pistol round victory, converting it up to 8 perhaps. Maybe even the rifle round needed as well to bring things level. And even then, I think they'll be a little behind going into this second side. See what Blocker can do. He's actually losing out on this duel, cautioned back onto a measly 1 HP. And what can he get done here? Even a tickle would just destroy him. Luckily, nobody connects. And with 90 seconds on the board, he is gonzo. There's the flashbang, instantly traded. That might be a mistake in the 5 versus 4.
I'm actually not too sure why Patsy swung there. They had a man advantage. He just got a little bit greedy. Let's level things back out into this 4-on-4 now then. 2 players on this ESPADA side with no Kevlar, and that could be really problematic here actually, as of course these Glocks can come in and deal tons and tons of damage, and this spam potential as well means that actually if they connect a couple of body shots onto you, your crosshair hits the sky. Sotfik is going to spot out 2 players. That grenade, oh, I thought it would do more damage than that, and instead he gets taken out in the meantime. Dexter needs to go big here, only good for 1 as he gets traded out. And now it's these final 2 USPs coming in from CT. The run boost comes over. That's actually very smart. They had no smoke. They had to get him across, and that's the way to do so. A 3-on-2 retake now. The kill on Finnegan is very, very doable. They need to just land these shots.
I'm really surprised that we don't see those run boosts more. There is the opening, but both of these tees towards long. The bomb and the absolute open. This has to just be the defuse and hold. Dima needs these angles, needs to hold them dead to rights and hidden behind this box. Can they actually see this diffuser right now? Dima, he's hitting all of the headshots. There's the 11th for ESPADA, and they are on the home straight on this CT side. That was such a beautiful diffuse there. You see that it takes a couple of extra seconds for Finnegan to mount. He's trying to get that backwards angle, so he's tucked inside those boxes. Not as open a plant as Fate initially suspected. And they are stuck down in the dumps on 5 rounds here, Jay. Getting into this second half, this absolutely sucks. They have to get out the AKs early. This is the initial buy that we usually see, especially Fate throw out, but the majority of teams in this iteration where, yeah, you do pick up the Galils and AKs after getting that initial bomb down. I think Fate will actually end up with a better buy than ESPADA here when you maybe even discount the utility. I just imagine this is going to be, we're going to look at maybe 3 Galils, maybe an MP9 or a Deagle along with that Scout. Yes, this has to be 3 rifles.
Well, it gives them an opportunity to pull back into this one. I was going to call it last round, Squid, but I thought, nah, there's no way they do that. That's the sort of thing you see at matchmaking. Dima actually acts as a meat shield there for his diffusing teammate. He's on the bomb. They know that these 2 players are long, and he just sits in front of him with that USP. He actually connects all the shots, but in the meantime, just sponges all of the damage. He was full HP. He took about 5 bullets from the Glocks. And in the meantime, his teammate's able to defuse that bomb with the kit. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But as you say, Fate now, an opportunity to get back into this one with the 2 rifles, a scout as well on Han. Certainly opportunity here. They're just against these SMGs, 2 rifles on this CT side. If they can get up short here and take this fight, take down Dexter without too much of a contest, they should be able to get onto the A-bomb site and convert this one.
They've only got one of the automatic rifles towards short, though. These Deagles have to chip in for a lot of damage. And with the AK starting to open things through, that's a second defender on this A-bomb site. And with Mar instantly going down, this now becomes a problem for this T side. Those shots not connecting. The smokes are placed. There's another nade upwards. It's going to dunk Nikki down to 58. And this bomb does finally go down, but with the Deagles inbound and everybody spotted Finnegan, he's punching in all of the damage. A 1 versus 3 for Han, and it's never going to happen. A 12th on the board for ESPADA. This should equal a 13th as well. Do Fate decide to go for another force buy with the bomb down? I really don't know. I guess it's a dilemma right now. I'd heavily expect them to even call a tactical timeout to discuss it. I know it seems weird, but a couple of $1,000 each, so down on rounds. Do you really allow ESPADA to get to 13 here? I think you have to at least consider it, and they do. AKs come through.
Wow. It's definitely viable off the back of that bomb plant, but you don't want to get into this cycle of just continuing to force up. They are against somewhat of a bonus from ESPADA here, so opportunity for them to get back into this one again. But just touching upon that last round, and actually this map as a whole, that utility usage from ESPADA was sublime. You see that actually they don't go for those initial engagements, instead throw the flashes, wait for the rotations to come in. The words are taken straight out my mouth though from this pure aggression from Sophic. Actually gets away with it as well as he manages to get behind the box, throws the Molotov and the grenade, finally falls to Mar. But he's allowed to stay alive and do far more damage than he should have been allowed there. 4 versus 4 now. But Fate have really been shaken up early by that aggression.
Realistically, that's a pretty good trade as well for Sotvig. He only had an MP9 in hand. And look at the damage dealt on the T side. You cannot backtrack. They need to find this kill onto Demon. There's the double face. Beautiful stuff from the defense. As Patrick and Han stuck in a practically impossible position here on mid. Where do they go? Where's this decision-making coming from? This could easily be a 13th on the board for ESPADA, and then I guess you have to save without the bomb going down. Allow the CTs onto 14. This has fallen apart, and I wouldn't even say this has been a mismanaged economy. Fate have done what they absolutely had to do. Their backs were up against the wall. They would have given away 13th anyway, just with the buy round 1 later, and they're running out of rounds right now. I really don't know what the correct decision is. I guess you have to get the pen and paper right. Lost Squadron has to turn up as well. Everybody has to make the decisions. Have to, well, vote by jury. And right now, Patrick, he's on his lonesome and he gets taken out. 13-5. 13-5. Let me just reiterate that. This has been a slammer of a final map.
It really has so far, and with Fate investing into those last couple of rounds, means that actually they really don't have a lot of money behind them other than the loss bonus. No bomb plant coming through there as well means that they've gone for another force here. Their backs are really against the wall. They can't afford to eco. If they eco this one, they allow ESPADA to get onto 14. That's far, far too dangerous. Instead, they just go for the pistols and SMGs, and it's Sophic with the aggression again to shut it down. The nade's going to deal some damage. He is going to fall, but Finnegan's there to support. And the flash comes through. We should be able to find this final one onto Patrick as well. Patrick actually converts, but Dexter picks it up nonetheless. ESPADA extend 2 players, but that's okay. They'll be able to reinvest into this one. 14 on the board for them now, and Fate, yeah, again, they're going to be able to buy here. No AWP available unless Hahn goes for that glass cannon. Oh, I thought he was debating it there. Instead, goes for the SG. It's definitely a full buy here from Fate, but with no AWP available, fairly limited utility on a couple of these players as well. It's certainly not the best. And ESPADA, no more bonuses for them. They've got the full rifles and the AWP on Dexter.
Well, the group of death might be about to claim its second victim, Fate, a team that looked like a bit of a solid lock when you put them in the context of these 16 teams in the groups. Maybe about to be knocked out in 3rd place here in Group C. ESPADA doing the damage here. Can't see a nice shot. Still an even Steven scenario as this tease, they've been spotted and shot away on short. Mar and Hahn, both last alive. They've got plenty of time, but not plenty of teammates. They've all fallen around them. This is a head scratcher for the T side. And look at this setup for ESPADA. It's relentless. There is no secondary smoke to aid this cross. With 1 minute left, that flashbang's going to get nothing done. There's the shot away. Mar, he is being spammed through this smoke and finished off. 15-5. ESPADA with 10 match points here in the best of 3.
This is a very, very standout performance from ESPADA, especially to pull this out on the final map, which is Dust 2, one that Fate are super confident with as well. ESPADA have just said, we've had enough of this. Why are we even here on this 3rd map? It does, of course, lead the question of when you actually look at this, both teams, if ESPADA tip this one over the edge, which it's very much looking like they'll be able to, both teams will actually be 2 for 2 on maps today. Of course, Fate taking Inferno earlier on in that best of 1 quite convincingly against ESPADA. Then they took Train as well, 16-6. It very much looked like ESPADA weren't playing their best game. After we saw that Train match, you think, right, yeah, Fate took that match earlier on. They've taken the first map of the series. This should definitely be theirs. And then since then, they've fallen asleep. These key players aren't showing up. And credit where credit's due, ESPADA have been playing their best game. Absolutely incredible stuff. Minute 15 on the clock. Now the execute's going to come through to what could be potentially the final round of the game.
Nice spam, and the nade is equally beautiful, doing over 100 damage, nailing those 2 mid-Fate players, and now into the crossfire once again. Finnegan finally found, and with a minute left, this might actually be the retake opportunity that ESPADA needs. Low on HP, and Fate severely challenged for this bomb site. Sopvig's going to come through with one more. Here, ESPADA, they have a real opportunity, and they're all coming through mid to get the job done. A deadly, brutal crossfire, but do Fate have enough HP? I don't think so. They're being locked onto this bomb site. There's the double clat, and now Hahn, he's being forced away from this site. There's the Molotov, should just secure this right now. He's barely got enough HP. He cannot move through this one. This is all but done, Jay. This has been fully secured, and that ends things. 15-6. ESPADA just play, I won't say a flawless series of Counter-Strike, but definitely